What's up, Terry? Sir Turtle Otter. What is this? KXRSED. XOXO. I'll just call you XOXO. How's everybody doing? Yeah, so today is the first day of fall here at UCR. So obviously there should be way more students than there was during the summer. So I'm a little excited for that. So hopefully we do get a few conversations. And yeah. So in the usual spot, or one of the spots that I post up here, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's already some tents posted. Hopefully it's not gonna be like a permanent thing, because I do like posting out here sometimes. It's a lot of cars see the table, you know, a lot of students walk through here, you know, so hopefully it's not permanent. Nonetheless, the spot inside next to a tree by the tower, it's a pretty good spot as well. So that's where I'll be going today. It's supposed to be a little warm today, like close to 90 degrees, like 88, 89. So it's gonna be hot. So I need to make sure I find some shade. So we got a table here already. I don't usually post up here. I post up over there, across the street.
COVID happened. Oh yeah, so I took 3 years.
What's up, Simon? Good to see you. Jolly. Yeah, so I normally post up right here where those tents are. Like right by that wall in the back. The gray wall, I guess you could say. Yeah, again, it's a pretty good spot. There's a lot of foot traffic here. As you can see. What is this? What gives you hope? Yep. So yeah, definitely packed today compared to any other day in summer. What's up, Kevin? Thanks. Yeah, hopefully we get some conversations. We should. I mean, I don't see why not. There's another tent over here. So hopefully it goes good. Kevin, the other is a density difference. So in order for a helium balloon to move, you require a density difference between the helium balloon and the medium that surrounds it. So the helium balloon has to be less dense than the medium that surrounds it. That's the first reason. The second reason, you need a force, because a lot of people would say, oh, a helium balloon rises because it's less dense than air, but they're only giving partial of the answer. They're only focusing on half of the answer. There's another reason why a helium balloon rises other than just a density difference, and the other reason is a force. So you require a force, and you require the object to be less dense than the medium that surrounds it, and that's what will give us the effect we call buoyancy. So again, you require a density difference, and you require a force. Sorry if I sound a little winded. It's going up a hill right there. I'm holding the phone, I'm pushing the cart, I have my backpack. Feels like I'm going camping. So yeah, that's gonna be the point of the presentation now. I'm gonna focus on those two facts. The two factors that are required to have buoyancy. Again, it's because most people just say, oh, it's because it's less dense than air. So again, they're only focusing on half of the answer. That's not the only reason why a helium balloon rises. Yes, that's required. Obviously, helium needs to be less dense than air, but you're missing the main thing that makes the helium balloon move, literally, which is a force, which is motion of matter, you know, in this case the air. you know, that motion of the air in the upwards vector pushes the helium balloon in that same direction of the force. But we know air cannot move itself, so what's pushing up the air, right? That's the Earth. So yeah, pretty simple. I'm gonna focus on that from now on. Like literally hammer on those points, just so people could get it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Look, there's a lot of students over there. A lot of students here. There's like a long line over there. I don't know what's going on. Some presentation. There's actually some other tents out here as well. Oh, pointing the phone down. Yeah, there's other tents out here as well. What's up, Nat? Alrighty. So luckily my spot's not taken, which is right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and post up. Alrighty, so what I'll do is, let me just switch the camera over. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna put it down here. I'm gonna set up real quick, and then we'll get started. Put it here. Make sure that way you guys could get some behind the scenes, right? That's funny. All right, that's better. So this is what the setup looks like. Let me just show you guys. There, we're all set up. That's the table right next to the tree. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Not as packed as other times that I've been here, but good enough. Alrighty. Well, that's that. Let me just set up the other camera. Oh man. All right. I think now I'm set up. Earthship Bear, Jess, Pie-Eyed Piper, Angela. Let me check who else is on the chat. Robert, what's up? Oh, you're a troll. I didn't see your message. You're still welcome. No worries. Trolls are welcome as well. It's when you excessively troll. If you excessively troll and don't provide anything practical that backs up your beliefs and you just troll the entire time, then you're gonna get blocked. So just a heads up, Robert, you know. Again, it's cool if you want to troll here and there, right? But if you're like excessively trolling and don't bring anything practical to back up your beliefs, then again, you're gonna get blocked. Just a heads up. Again, I don't know if you're a troll or not. I think you are based on your messages here, but yeah. Nasi Flippos, what's up? Angelito, what's up? Sean, good to see you guys. And everyone else that doesn't comment, good to see you guys. Or at least, you know, thanks for being here, I guess, right? Because I can't see your messages, I mean, I just see a little number on the live stream, right? But that's not even a genuine number. Which, what's up, Josh? Which reminds me, I don't know if anybody else noticed, I mean, I noticed, obviously it's my channel, but the last live stream that I did, in the first like 2-3 days, it almost had like 2.4k views. Like it was at 2.3, it was almost gonna get it was about to get 2.4k views, which kind of surprised me because usually my videos don't even pass a K. You know, all of my videos are censored. They remove views, right? They don't recommend them. Usually when a video gets close to 1,000 or over 1,000 views, like on YouTube that it shows, it's usually because someone like shared the video, so it got more views than normal, right? So, you know, it gets to the 1,000, you know. The last video, again, it surprised me a little bit. It got to 2.4K views, you know, and I was like, oh, I wonder who shared it, right? Just a little curious. I wonder if it got shared somewhere, right? It turns out after the third day or so, the next day, literally the video went down from almost 2.4K views to 900 views or 950. So they just removed 1.5K views from that video. Now, I don't know if they just didn't censor that live stream like they do all the other ones, so like the views were showing, but they automatically reduced the views like the next day after that. Yeah, it went down to like 950 views, so they took away like 1.5K views from that video. So again, I'm not surprised that they're doing that to all of my videos, right? I already knew that, obviously. Like, how do my views go from 1K when I first started in the first year, or almost 1K, down to like 500 views 3 years later, right? When my explanations, my presentation, you know, the physics that I present has only gotten better, right? But yeah, YouTube shows that my channel is actually, I guess, dying, right? I don't know what term people would say. But yeah, they're trying to just give the impression to like new viewers that this subject's not that important, and anyone talking about it, you know, nobody cares, right? Look, they don't have that many views, they don't have that many followers, that many supporters. So again, it influences new people, believe it or not. You know, I hate to say it, but I was influenced in the beginning too. I was like, I would wonder like, oh shit, you know, why isn't there more people commenting positively, right? Like, especially the comments will get me a lot. Like in the first few months when I looked into this, you know, I would see like in the comment section a lot of hate, when in my head it's like, holy shit, but this makes sense, right? When I first seen the first flat earth video, I was like, this makes sense. So when I would go to the comments and I would just see a lot of hate, nothing but hate, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of like kept me in the middle a little bit. Even though I was like already seeing that the globe earth was bullshit, right? The comments did influence me. It made me think twice about common sense, about what I was seeing, about, you know, the presentation or whatever. So I guess, again, the internet does influence people, obviously, right? But you know, comments in specific, views, likes, you know, all of that. Not only just a celebrity or a professional speaking, you know, and that's not all it takes to influence people. Obviously, that's required as well. You need your priests, like Globe Earth priests, for example, to preach the globe. But you also influence people with numbers, you know, with again, they give a lot of views and a lot of attention to like mainstream pseudoscience, but then real science, natural science, or people that represent real physics like myself and Dell, they get pushed to the side, you know. So again, it's all about numbers. Not all about numbers, but numbers are definitely used to influence people, like views, number of likes, and you know, types of comments and stuff like that, you know. So I mean, we all know that, you know. It just is mainly just for new people, you know. If anybody comes across this video, you know, just a heads up, this subject is super censored, you know, and the numbers lie. You know, the views, the likes, even comments. There's like, I don't know if you guys heard, there was like a study, you know, again, I'm not saying this 100% because obviously I just heard, but that over 50% of the activity on the internet is bots. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like over 60-70%, right, of all the online activity are bots. So a lot of the views people get, a lot of the subscribers, a lot of the comments people have in their videos, more than half of them are bots. So I'm sure that a lot of you already know that as a YouTuber creator, you're able to buy subscribers. You know, so a lot of, you know, people will buy subscribers, you know, a lot of shills too. They buy subscribers, they get over 100,000 subs, 200,000 subs, right, to give the impression that, oh shit, look, you know, he must be relevant, right, or something, right? But then their views don't really match their subs either, so they kind of expose themselves, you know, in a way, like, you know, they're kind of showing everyone that they're buying their subs, right, because their views don't match the sub count. You know, there's some like channels that have over 100,000 subscribers, but yet my videos still get more views than them. Like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, especially since my channel is censored already, you know. But that just comes to show. And then you look at the content of these channels, and it's just a lot of bullshit, a lot of nothing to do with physics. First of all, most flat earth channels, again, it's just focused on drama and visual observations to prove their point, to try to prove the flat earth. But we all know that visual observations alone don't prove anything. That's where physics comes in, right? So again, a lot of these channels are just bullshit, and they're just there to distract. Either they're confused themselves, or they're at it, you know, one or the other. But yeah, enough of that. So I see what else is here. City, ice wall, flat earth. Let me see what you put. Imagine what will actually happen if the entire world population learned that we are not living on a spinning globe earth. Now imagine if all the flat earthers realized as well that we're not living in a motionless flat earth. It would be almost the same thing, huh? I would say that will be even more of a bigger revelation, in my opinion, for flat earthers. Like, that should like sharpen them up at that point. Like, holy shit, I fell into the globe earth deception, but now I fell into this motionless flat earth deception as well. So now I'm gonna be a little bit more cautious, you know, what I put my attention to. I'm gonna start to use more common sense. I'm gonna have to verify things for myself. You would think that would happen with flat earthers, right? When you present the motion of the earth. But no. What are they doing? They're doing the exact same thing globe earthers are doing. They're just dismissing it, ignoring it, and coming up with imaginary explanations to back up their bias. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Equinox, what's up? So I wanted to give my 2 cents. Again, it's just my thoughts based on this whole accelerating versus constant speed, right, of the motion of the earth. And here's my thing. Here's how I see it. I feel like focusing on the physics of the upwards motion of the earth, it's what's important and what we should all be focusing on, right? Because if we start focusing in the details of the motion of the earth instead of the physics of the motion of the earth to debunk the globe, we're now creating division. How is that? It's because, so it's no different than, for example, we have physics that prove the earth is level, right? You guys want to give it a shot? I guess not. They were just looking. All right. So again, just like with the earth being level, right? Physics shows that it's level, right? Physics of water, the fact that we use Euclidean plane principles, you know, when navigation and construction, right? The fact that plumb lines are always parallel to each other. Again, all of these things show that the earth is a level plane physically, the proof that the earth is a level plane physically, right? But now we have, in my opinion, controlled opposition. Again, bullshitters, whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter, focusing on maps now to try and prove the earth is level. Instead of focusing on the physics that proves the earth is level, now they're pushing a model about the earth and the layout of the earth and what it looks like and all that. So now you're now opening the door to not only being attacked, because obviously pushing a model, at the end of the day, nobody knows the exact dimensions of the earth. So pushing a model, you're opening the door to being attacked and debunked, right? And you're creating division as well, because now you're focusing on something that has nothing to do with the shape of the earth. In other words, that or it doesn't prove the shape of the earth physically whatsoever, but now you're focusing on the details of the levelness of the earth to try, again, you're trying to push a map now. So, and now again, you're creating division now between people that are remaining objective and people that are pushing a model, right? Because models can easily be debunked, right? Now with the motion of the earth, I see the exact same thing. Instead of focusing on the motion, the upwards motion of the earth, which is what physics shows, right? Buoyancy shows us that. Instead of just focusing on that, they want us to focus on the details of the motion of the earth. So again, in my opinion, talking about the details about the motion of the earth is no different than talking about the details about the layout of the earth, which is completely irrelevant. We should focus on the physics that shows that the earth is level. Fuck what it looks like, you know, right now, what it looks like, you know, what the dimensions are. Nobody knows that. So trying to focus on that and making that relevant is a complete waste of time. And again, you're only creating division. So now with the motion of the earth is the exact same thing. Focusing on the details of the speed, for example, oh, how fast is it going, or what kind of motion does it have? All of that is irrelevant to the fact that it's moving up relative to us within the reference frame. That's what physics shows. That's what we should be focusing on, the fact that the earth is moving up relative to us, and that's what gives us buoyancy. Now, again, people that are trying to make what that motion, what is that motion exactly, you know, the people that are trying to make that relevant, in my opinion, are creating division. So they're trying to create this dichotomy between accelerating speed versus constant speed. again, it's completely irrelevant. It's like someone pushing a Pac-Man model versus an ice wall model. Now you're creating division within flat Earth when you're pushing two different models, right? I don't push any model. Again, I don't know the motion of the Earth. All I know that it's moving up relative to us. That's all I know. So I don't push any model of the motion of the Earth as fact. Let me just say that. You know, I have my opinions. I have my reasons to why I tend to lean towards again, a constant change in direction, again, based on the tides. But at the end of the day, nobody can prove exactly what that motion is. That's the point. It's the people that are pushing their model as truth that are creating the division. Not only that, they're pushing a model that can easily be debunked, in my opinion, right? So I'm gonna give so again, nothing personal towards, what's his name, Jason, right? Jason, Rising Earth. Again, nothing personal towards Jason. Jason's his own man. Jason, you know, I appreciate he's done his experiments that he's done, and you know, kudos to him. But nothing personal towards him. I'm just talking about the logic behind what he says, I guess. Again, nothing personal towards him, but they're trying to like dismiss that the Earth is moving with a constant change in direction by saying that, oh, it wouldn't work in a centrifuge, right? So because a centrifuge shows water, you know, showing a dip, I guess, right in the middle, then Earth cannot be in a centrifuge, or cannot be moving in some kind of centrifuge motion because water's not level. And I agree, sure, if maybe that is true. I haven't seen that experiment myself, but yeah, I'm pretty sure maybe if water does concave, right, then I get it. Obviously water can't be level. Here's another thing. The tides wouldn't even work in a centrifuge as well. We wouldn't have a high tide and a low tide, in my opinion. The water will remain fixed relative to the container, and it will remain in that state, I guess. There wouldn't be a shift, in my opinion. Not only that, helicopters, I don't think will be able to fly in a centrifuge. Think about a helicopter hovering, right, and trying to move forward, back, left, right, inside a centrifuge. It just wouldn't work. The thing is that centrifuge is not the only way that the Earth could be moving with a constant change in direction. You know, the Earth could easily be in a fixed path. So the Earth could be, you know, moving in a fixed path and slightly changing that deviation, obviously relative to the path that it's taking, the track, whatever. You know, there could be a rotational arm as well. So the force is coming from underneath still. The Earth is still pushing up from underneath, you know. So there's different ways to achieve a constant acceleration with a constant change in direction, other than just a centrifuge, in my opinion. Again, you wouldn't have, the tides wouldn't work, in my opinion. You wouldn't be a helicopter wouldn't be able to fly. There would be so many flaws with that model, in my opinion, that yes, of course that wouldn't work. But trying to pigeonhole everyone into that model to then dismiss it, that the Earth must be moving in a straight line now, I think it's a bit devious, I don't know, or a bit, it's wrong, I guess. I couldn't think of a better word, in my opinion, because again, there's different ways that the Earth could be moving with a constant change in direction, right? Again, I don't know the exact motion. I'm not preaching to know. But I do find flaws with people claim that the Earth is moving linearly, right? I'm gonna, because obviously people are trying to find flaws with centrifuge, which I also found flaws with it, which I don't agree with, right? I think it's something completely different, you know, the motion, right? But I'm gonna give you my 2 cents to why I think the Earth moving linearly, well, it has flaws, in my opinion. For one, is you wouldn't have a high tide and a low tide, right? Because obviously we know that the water's level perpendicular to the motion vector. As someone that accepts the upwards push of the Earth will have to accept that water's level perpendicular to the upwards force, right? So if we're seeing a deviation in that, then in my opinion, obviously that shows that there's a deviation in the vector, right? But if you believe that the Earth is accelerating, increasing its speed linearly, in other words, acceleration linearly, then in my opinion, you wouldn't have a high tide and a low tide, because there wouldn't be a change in the vector. The vector will always be a completely straight line. So now you will have to assume that the oceans are being affected by some other kind of force other than motion of matter, which in this case would be the Earth. The motion of the Earth, is in my opinion, is what causes the change in direction, which gives us the high tide and the low tide, right? A constant high tide and a low tide, because there's a constant change in direction again. But again, if you're claiming linear acceleration, then in my opinion, you wouldn't have a high tide and a low tide. You know, it would just be level all the time relative to the Earth. It wouldn't shift, in my opinion. So that's one huge flaw, in my opinion, with linear motion of the Earth. You have to buy into this other idea that there must be some kind of force with the sun or the moon or magnetism that's making the whole ocean water shift back and forth. So again, you have to assume that there's something else other than motion or you know, of a container that can make water level or change the orientation of water, right? So again, you have to assume that. Second thing that I have a problem with linear acceleration is you would have to assume that the Earth is moving through a vacuum. Why is that? Well, there's this one thing called drag, right? Air resistance, for example, or if you're moving through water, you know, water resistance. Again, if you're moving through a medium, you're gonna have resistance no matter what. So what does that mean, right? Well, that means that if you have an object here on Earth that's moving at 100 miles an hour, there's gonna be so much pushback or air resistance at 100 miles an hour. Guess what's gonna happen when you're going 200 miles an hour? There's gonna be even more resistance, even more pushback, more drag because you're moving through a medium, right? So again, if you're claiming infinite speed, in other words, linear acceleration, then you're also by default claiming infinite drag. So there's gonna be an infinite pushback, but you're somehow still gonna be able to accelerate at the same constant speed to maintain a constant acceleration. So that, in my opinion, that just wouldn't work. To have infinite resistance to combat the infinite speed, you know, you're gonna need an infinite force to increase as well to be able to, you know, overcompensate or compensate for that drag, increase in drag faster and faster, faster it's getting, to be able to maintain the 9.8 meters per second acceleration. So it just wouldn't work. You would have to assume that the Earth is moving through some kind of vacuum where you're not gonna have any drag, where the constant acceleration is always gonna be there with no issues of having to increase the force because of the increase in drag and all of this shit. So in my opinion, again, linear acceleration, you have problems there because you have to assume that you're moving through a vacuum. Because if you're not moving through a vacuum, if you're moving through a medium, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I would love to hear people's thoughts on that. Again, if you're moving in some kind of cycle, in my opinion, though, constant change in direction, giving you a constant acceleration, you don't have to worry about none of that, you know, because the force is coming from obviously the constant change in direction, you know. So again, if you're claiming linear acceleration, then again you're having to deal with infinite speed, which will give you infinite drag, infinite pushback, which means you will have to have like an infinite force that's able to increase again to compensate for that drag. The faster and faster and faster you're getting, and to be able to maintain that constant acceleration. So again, you would, in my opinion, you would have to kind of assume a vacuum in that sense, because moving through a medium at infinite speed just doesn't make any sense to me, you know. So that's just my thoughts again to why, you know, the flaws in the linear acceleration claim. Again, the tides and the fact that you would have to assume you're moving through a vacuum, you know. So yeah, that's just me. Again, anybody pushing any model, whether a model of the motion of the Earth or a model of the layout of the Earth, anyone pushing a model of those things as fact, in my opinion, should not be taken serious. And they're just creating division. They're creating division. They're muddying the waters. And at the end of the day, you know, any models about the motion of the Earth or any models about the layout of the Earth are completely irrelevant and takes away from the physics that proves that the Earth is a level plane in upwards motion. That's what we should be focusing on. You know, it's the physics aspects of the Earth, not assumptions, you know. So, yeah, I'll read some of the comments, see if anybody disagrees, you know, with what I have to say, with what I just said again. So Certiorari centrifuge doesn't have physical motion towards plumb. Yeah, I know. There's so many problems with centrifuge motion. You know, again, I don't think that's what's happening here on Earth. Again, I gave my reasons to why, and I think it's something different, obviously. And again, I gave my reasons to why I don't think it's linear either. But again, at the end of the day, people could believe whatever they want. That's not what's important. What's important is that the Earth is moving up relative to us. That's what's important. That's what debunks the globe. That's what exposes the liars. That's what exposes the controlled opposition. And that's what I'm going to stick to. I don't give a fuck what the layout of the Earth is. I don't give a fuck what the exact motion of the Earth is. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. So anybody trying to prove me wrong is like, first of all, I don't claim a model of the motion of the Earth as fact. You know? So you're going to piss in the air because, you know, I'm not going to push a model. It's pointless. It's irrelevant. You're only going to muddy the waters, you know? The whole point is to keep it simple, you know? To try and convey this to people, you know, and keep it simple. It's okay to say you don't know an aspect about this reality. Nobody knows everything about this reality, you know? So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting you don't know, you know? So, let me see. Yeah, Simon, that's true. In a centrifuge, will give you a Coriolis effect just like the ball Earth. I agree 100%. That's why helicopters wouldn't be able to fly how they do here on Earth, how we experience, you know, airplanes can fly left, right, forward, back, you know, with no issues in any direction. Inside a centrifuge, I don't think that will be the case, you know. I don't even think it'll work, in my opinion. I don't even think you'll be able to fly a helicopter, you know, but there'll be so many issues with that, you know, so yeah, I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that the Earth is moving in a straight line now, because that's the only way. Like, no, that's not the only way. Again, that's just trying to pigeonhole people into a model, shit on that model, and now you prove the other model. What does that sound like? It sounds like the globe Earth with the stationary flat Earth. It sounds exactly like the globe Earth with a stationary flat Earth. It's bullshitters, idiots push a model. The globe Earth shits on that model, obviously, because as you can easily debunk those models, and now the globe Earth looks like they want, right? That's exactly what's happening, in my opinion, with this whole motion of the Earth. Whoa, is it accelerating constant speed, or is it accelerating speed, or, you know, that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Unless you could get outside of the Earth and see exactly what it is, then you can make a factual statement. Other than that, nobody knows. It's irrelevant anyway. Upward push of the Earth debunks the globe. That simple. Hopefully it's not the question, do you trust your common sense? Hopefully it's something else. Because honestly, if I don't get a conversation in the first hour, I may just switch the question to, are you smarter than a 5th grader? So yeah, like I was saying when I was getting here, the new main focus of my, I guess let me just go through most of the comments. Certiorari, infinite pressure, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I know. Again, linear accelerator. I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, oh shit. Because even if you're moving at a constant velocity through a medium, you're still gonna get that pushback. You don't have to be accelerating through the medium to feel the pushback, right? So even if you're going 100 miles an hour in a car, that's why they make cars aerodynamic. Because what happens if they're not aerodynamic and you accelerate, you know, super fast, right? The car rips apart. The car will literally rip apart, you know, because of the pushback, because of the air resistance, because of drag. You know, the faster you move through the medium, the more drag you're gonna have, the more pushback. The Earth will be torn apart if it was moving at an infinite speed through a medium. So again, by default, you have to assume a vacuum, which is no different than the globe, in my opinion. Again, you have to assume a no thing. The Earth is moving through nothing. Again, we're going back to voids and emptiness of space. You have to start assuming that, because again, it just wouldn't work if you're moving through a medium straight, increasing your speed to infinity. It would not work. It just would not work. You know. So, you know, anybody that disagrees, please explain, you know, your reasons. I would love to hear them, because I tried breaking this, you know, I tried breaking it, you know, trying to find other ways around it, and so far I couldn't find any. You know, So. No flat earther is pushing any model though. Name one. Well, I hate to say it, but Eric Dubay, you know, Flat Earth Dave, well, I would say Witsit, who else? All the mainstream flat earthers, they're all pushing a model. They're either pushing a model of a stationary Earth, or they're pushing a model of the layout of the Earth, or it's one or the other. They're pushing a model regardless, you know, based on nothing. That's another thing. You know, they're pushing a model based on nothing. Actually, they're pushing a model that contradicts physics. So not only is it a model that's based on nothing, it's actually a model that is in direct contradiction of the physics that we know. So who else does that? Globe earthers do that. They push a model that's a complete opposite of what physics shows. So now you have all these mainstream flat earthers doing the same thing. They're pushing a model that completely goes against the physics that we see here on Earth. You know. Holla at me. Will you ever join a debate with a flat earther? I mean, I would say no. I wouldn't want to, you know, but at the same time, if they're honest and genuine, then I would entertain the conversation. If they're an honest and genuine person at the end of the day, I would. But if they're trolls, if they're known trolls, you know, and stuff like that, then honestly, I wouldn't waste my time. So it depends, you know, what kind of flat earther we're talking about. If we're talking about a troll, or we're talking about someone that's actually genuine, right? So I would definitely entertain a conversation with someone that's genuine. I would avoid conversations with trolls, you know, especially motionless flat earth trolls, obviously. No different than Globe Earth. Globe Earth is the same thing. Would love to have conversations with people that are honest, you know, that believe the globe, but people are trolls and they don't really care about truth, then I'm not really that interested, you know, at the end of the day. I don't know, is it the question that's scaring people? You guys want to give it a shot? Alright, cool. So it's two very easy questions just to see if you guys trust your common sense. I'm William, by the way. Nice to meet you.
I'm Gavin.
I'm William, nice to meet you. Alright, so two very easy. They're multiple choice too, so it makes it even easier, right? So I have 3 box trucks here, and they're completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface. Right? And there's an apple hanging from a string inside all of them, right? The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's at rest. How do you know that one's at rest?
Because like there's no movement.
Yes, of the apple. The apple's staying vertical, right? Exactly. So which one's accelerating forward?
That's A.
Yes. How do you guys know it's A?
Because when you're moving forward, initially you go backwards.
Yes, because obviously that apple is remaining in its position in space and the whole container is moving forward, you know. It's due to inertia. So apple is retaining its position due to inertia. All right, you guys got the first one pretty easy, right? Second one is pretty similar, but instead of an apple hanging from a string is a helium balloon, obviously tied to a string. So in this scenario, which one is at rest? Yes, and it's for the exact same reason as the first, is because it's not moving, it's vertical, right? Which one's accelerating forward? Yes. No. You actually got it. But you kind of guessed there, right? Yeah.
Because it's like floating upwards because of the helium. So when you go forward, it like kind of pushes forward.
Yes, it does get pushed forward, exactly. So there is 2 reasons why the helium balloon goes forward. The first reason is there's a density difference. So the helium balloon is less dense than the air. So the air is obviously more dense. The second reason why the helium balloon got pushed to the right is because of a force. So when I apply the force to the truck in this direction, the air that's inside of the truck as well is being pushed in that same direction, and because air is more dense than helium, is able to push the helium balloon in that same direction. So it's like a knock-on effect. You know, that's what buoyancy is. It's something pushing on something else that's pushing something else. You know, so buoyancy will always follow the direction of the force, and I can show that here. Look, this is a buoyant ball, obviously, right? If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think your ball's gonna go? Yes. See, it goes in that direction when you apply a force, right? Pretty easy, right? Pretty elementary. So I actually recreated these experiments in a cargo van with a helium balloon and an apple. So based on the principles that we just learned, what direction do you accelerate? To the right or to the left?
To the left.
Moving forward. Yes, so I'm moving forward in this case, exactly, because the helium balloon got pushed in that direction, which tells you that air also is moving in that direction. you know. So let me ask you guys this. So again, buoyancy always follows the direction of the force. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? So again, there's two reasons why the balloon goes up. Why do you think that is? I'm sorry?
Helium rises.
Yes, helium rises, but there's two reasons why helium rises. Why do you think helium rises? Why do you think helium goes up? There's two reasons. So one is a density difference. So helium is less dense than the air here on Earth, right? And the second reason, what was the second reason? Do you guys remember?
The movement going up.
Yes, it's a force. So again, so the air is being pushed up, which is pushing up the helium. So in this scenario, the truck is what generated the force to push the air in this direction, which then pushed the helium in the same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up the helium?
Gravity.
Yes, gravity. So here's the thing though. Gravity of the Earth is actually a push of the Earth, not a pull. So I know they tell us that gravity is pulling the air and everything else down towards the Earth. The reality is the Earth is pushing up. It's the other way around. So right now you're not being pulled towards the Earth, it's the Earth that's pushing up against you, and that's why we're stuck to it. So I don't know if you guys knew a pulling force of gravity is actually just a theory. Yes, so and the reason why it's a theory is because a downward acceleration or downward force has never been measured or detected. And that's because the force is actually up. That's the reality. Buoyancy shows us that. Again, buoyancy shows us that it's being pushed up by the air, which is being pushed up by the ground. Again, it's a knock-on effect. And that's why gravity is just a theory. So this is the real reason why I'm doing this. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yeah.
You guys understand that on a ball, up is relative. In other words, if you're standing here, up for you is this way, but if you're standing down here, up for you is this way, in the opposite direction. In every direction away from the center, right? If we could prove that the ground is pushing up, in other words, the Earth is pushing up and not pulling us down, in other words, the Earth is literally moving up through space, how can the Earth move up for a person that's standing here and a person that's standing here? How can it move up for both of them at the same time, if it was a ball?
It's because it's like pushing from the center of the ball.
Yeah, so the Earth will have to be pushing up in every direction away from the center, which will mean the Earth will have to be expanding in order for that to happen. It would just explode, it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove that it's the other way around and it's the Earth pushing up, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that the Earth is pushing, not pulling. And that's the force. You know, if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball? Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, how's it going?
Doing good, man. So why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Just like, it's a dumb answer, but like just the pictures I've seen.
Okay. I'm glad that you acknowledge that it's a dumb answer, because it kind of is. Because if I showed you a picture of me flying, would you believe I could fly? No, why wouldn't you believe me?
Because there's like edited versions and like AI nowadays.
Well, the logical answer would be because it defies physics. So if you show me a video of anything that defies physics, I automatically know it's bullshit. You know, so if you show me a video of walking on water, I know it's some kind of trick, obviously, because that's impossible. So here, let me just show you the images of the Earth that they show us. So these are official NASA images, and they actually admit that they're CGI. So they're all computer generated. And the reason that they give us is that they can't go high enough. So they just take trips of imagery.
I thought the Earth was in a perfect sphere.
But these are official NASA imagery, which contradicts that claim. They claim it's an oblate spheroid, right?
Yeah.
But their official images contradict that claim as well. So they're contradicting themselves. And, you know, if you look at any image from the globe, of a globe Earth from outer space, it's always a perfect sphere. But it's not, that's what they say. But here's the thing, these images defy physics at the end of the day. You know, it doesn't work. So again, the Earth as a globe Earth just doesn't exist. You know. So is there anything other than images, or why do you believe the Earth is small?
How would you explain like if a plane was traveling and then it made like a full circle?
So you're talking about circumnavigation?
Yeah, just
yeah.
general
So
question.
and on a globe Earth, obviously, if you head east and west, you basically go around the globe and come back, right? Because north is up here. So again, I don't push any model of the Earth or what it looks like that, because nobody knows. You know, all I know is that it's a level plane. You know, and physics shows me that. But if the globe Earth was flattened out, I guess, this is what it would look like. But I don't push this model. This is a false model as well. But if we were flying east and west, the north would just be a center point. So if you're flying east and west, it would just be circles around the center point. So you could still circumnavigate on a level Earth. You'd just be going in a circle. You don't have to be going around a ball. You know, what nobody's ever done is gone south and come back up north. You know, that circumnavigation has never been done. Because if you actually did that, guess what would happen? You just reach the end of the Earth. That's why south, I don't know if have you guys heard of the Antarctic Treaty? So over 57 nations have signed the treaty, and no independent exploration is allowed. So if you wanted to go south to see what the end of the Earth would look like, you're not allowed to do that. Exactly, because that would debunk the Earth as well. But we don't even need to do that because gravity as a pushing force debunks the globe Earth. You know, so have you guys heard of this topic before? You guys heard of flat Earth, right?
Yeah.
So flat Earth is a psyop as well. So it's no different than the globe Earth. Why? Because they deny that the Earth is pushing up as well. So over 95% of flat Earthers are motionless flat Earthers. So they believe that when you release an object into free fall, that the object accelerates down towards the Earth like the globe Earth. But in reality, it's the other way around. It's the Earth that's moving up. And when you release an object, it just falls due to inertia. So the Earth just catches up again. You know how the apple swings back in the truck? But the apple that didn't swing back is the container that moved towards the apple. That's exactly what happens here. It's the object doesn't move down towards the Earth, it's the Earth, the container, that moves up to the object. You know, and something is less dense in the air, then the air will push it up. You know, so you guys have any questions for me about this subject?
Are you flat earther?
No, I'm not a flat earther. No, I don't like to give myself any labels, but if I was to give me a label, I'm just a realist. I take reality for what it is. You know, I don't buy into ideas, beliefs, none of that. You know, that's what religion's for. And the globe Earth is the biggest religion on Earth, believe it or not. No. My religion, if anything, is my common sense. That's where I base my common sense. You know, my beliefs are based on common sense. You know, so I have ideas about what this place could be, but they're not beliefs because I don't buy into them either. I just have thoughts, I guess, right? Because I'm honest with myself. If I can't prove something, I'll admit that I can't prove it. So either I know something or I don't. You know, so all I know is that the Earth is level and pushing up. What else about the Earth? I don't know. I don't know how far it extends. I don't know how big the Earth is. I don't know how it's being contained. You know, because the Earth is being contained as well. Because you guys believe in outer space, right? So here's the thing: have you guys heard of entropy? How about you guys have heard entropy? So high pressure will always move to a lower pressure unless there's a solid barrier separating the two. In order to have two opposing pressure systems, you need solid containment. You know, so they're claiming outer space is a negative pressure next to the Earth's pressure with no solid barrier separating the two, which defies the laws of entropy. Because you need a solid barrier to separate a vacuum from air pressure. But they're claiming that that's happening with nothing, just gravity pulling the air in. But again, gravity as a pulling force doesn't exist. So that's how they explain the air not rushing into space is gravity, a theory, which can easily be debunked, you know, because again, it's the other way around, it's the Earth pushing up, you know. And that's why when people say, oh, you'll fall off the Earth, well, you won't fall off the Earth because it's being physically contained somehow. You know, I don't know what the container looks like. The Bible talks about a firmament, which again, I don't buy into religions at all, but they do mention a container at least. But I don't know what the container looks like. You know, so we are being contained. We're literally like in a terrarium. We're like ants in the container that's moving up, and that's what
There are
this is.
some people that also believe that Noah's Ark is actually really good, but there's no actual physical proof of like how to carry the world.
No, and not only that, I think the Bible mentions only males were loaded. So like, how the fuck did they reproduce? They only mention male animals, two male of each species. So it's like, what the fuck? It's like religion's there to see if people buy into it, to see how dumb people are, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of contradictions in religions that defy physics. Like Jesus walking on water, that defies physics. I don't believe none of that shit, but people believe it, you know. And again, if you guys believe it, I don't mean to disrespect you guys, but it's just based on my common sense and based on physics, you know. And everything that Jesus supposedly did, Muhammad, Buddha, all of them, they're just characters that are made up, just so people could doubt their common sense and their own sanity. And the globe Earth is no different. They give you a bunch of different explanations that defy physics that don't make any sense. And gravity is the heliocentric model of God. So that's why the ball Earth, it's a religion. You know, your God is the Big Bang. That's what created everything, you know. But in reality, nobody knows how this place was created. But it was created, 100%.
What do you think about the moon landing?
Oh, a moon landing was just a movie. It's a movie set, yeah. If you look at the anomalies from that footage, it's just laughable. But it was just their attempt in the 70s to try and replicate it. But it was just so bad, the technology was just so bad that you could see wires from the astronauts that are reflecting light. Like, there's just so much shit, and it's just laughable, you know. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's possible that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, right. Or are you 100% convinced? You think it's possible that we've been lied to? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely it is. And trust me, we have been lied to. I don't expect to convince you guys, obviously, in a 5-10 minute conversation, but this is kind of like an introduction, you know. So, do you guys have any questions for me before you go? Or there's a number 2 proof. Do you guys want to, real quick, if you guys take a quick look? So, you guys know the radius of the Earth?
I don't know.
So the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, allegedly, because they supposedly have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do give us the radius of the Earth. They have to. right? So based on the radius of the Earth, we get the circumference, which is 24,901 miles. That's the distance around the Earth, 24,901 miles. So based on that radius of the Earth, and
Is that
using...
on the theory based off of flat Earth, or is that on the theory based off of round?
This is the round Earth, the radius of the Earth. Yeah. So you guys are familiar with the Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? We're able to calculate for how much curvature there should be using that formula. So this is the formula. And it turns out there should be 8 inches per mile squared. That's how much curvature there should be based on the radius of the Earth they're telling us. So in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. And it just keeps growing. So by 10 miles, there should be 66 feet, which is like a 6-story building. So how do we measure for that curve to see if it's there, right? There's a very, very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, we'll say 3 miles, the surface of water on that lake, if we build a level structure above it, like a completely horizontal structure above it, the water is going to be parallel to that structure because water, when contained at rest, forms a level surface, which is horizontal. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water, when contained at rest, is bending 6 feet in 3 miles. So they're telling us that the end of the lake is 6 feet below you from the starting point, which is it's a physical impossibility. Water doesn't have the ability to form a shape on the surface. It always collapses and forms a level surface, which is horizontal. And it doesn't matter if you make this structure 10 miles long. There's zero curvature when there should be 66 feet in 10 miles. So again, the physics of water shows that the Earth is a horizontal plane, a level plane. You know, so the oceans, have you guys heard of the term sea level? Right? Again, sea meaning ocean, level meaning horizontal. So horizontal oceans, that's what sea level means. So that's how we measure height and depth. We do it from that level data line. So that's how you know how deep you are, because we're doing it from that reference point, that data line, the level, which is a horizontal. You know, so again, the physics of water is the number 2 proof that debunks the globe. The number 1, again, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. You know. So what do you guys think? You think this is viable? This is something to take into consideration, or what do you guys think? Do you think this is a flawed experiment, or what do you guys think? How else would we measure for the Earth curve? How else do you think could we measure for the Earth curve? Exactly, right? Some people say that looking at the stars, we're able to measure. That's flat earthers, by the way. These are the motionless flat earthers that just focusing on looking at the stars. And then the globe earthers are saying, oh, but looking at the stars proves that it's a globe. And then the flat earthers are saying, oh no, but it proves that it's level. So they're just bullshitting back and forth. It's a false dichotomy with the flat earthers and globe earthers. The reality is nobody talks about physics, not flat earthers, not globe earthers. So people like myself, super censored, by the way, on YouTube or online. And there's only like me and another guy that are talking about this in the last 10 years. That's when I came across this. So it's pretty censored. This is the biggest lie on earth and the most censored by far. I go to UCLA, USC, and I've gone to UC Irvine, and I come here a lot as well. So yeah, I've talked to physics professors, I've talked to astrophysicists, I've talked to just regular math teachers, you know. Nobody can prove the law. Nobody. Everyone just believes it, and everyone just spreading ignorance.
It's like their best point.
Their best point, believe it or not, is no different than you guys. Images. They say images. They say the horizon being the limit of perspective. But we do have a limit of how far we can see. They think that the limit of perspective is the curve of the Earth. But the reality is we do have a limit to how far we can see, and the horizon is that. Because the horizon is not physical, it's apparent. The horizon, I don't know if you guys knew that. It's not a physical thing, it's apparent thing. You know. So yeah, nobody can prove it.
Even, like, you're talking about like these astrophysicists, right? So
Yes.
What about we talk about Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, he's an astrophysicist.
Yeah. So when it comes to Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, here's my channel. You guys can check out my other conversations when I go to the other universities. And yeah, I appreciate the chat. It was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Oh, thank you. I no worries, man. Take care. No, you were saying Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said that the reason why people think the Earth is like round in the way,
Okay.
because when you live here in California and the sun sets down, right?
Yes.
But when you go to Japan, the sun is not there because it's on the opposite
Yes.
side of the spectrum.
Yes.
So what Neil deGrasse Tyson is basically saying is that kind of proves to you that the Earth is kind of in this axial point, where the sun is kind of swooping like this and not swooping straight.
Okay.
Like most people, when they see the sun, right, they always think the sun is going straight, but that's not
Okay.
true because we are now in the fall eclipse, which means the sun is almost like this in a way.
Okay.
So the sun moves in this direction.
Sure.
So what can you say to those people who just say the sun just goes and disappears?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Nobody knows exactly how the sun works. That's the fact. So they're making assumptions. They're making assumptions about the distance of the sun,
Yep.
93 million miles away. They're making assumptions that the Earth is a globe, and the apparent declination of the sun is happening because of the curve of the Earth, which is not there. So all of their assumptions about the sun to try to prove their model
Yeah.
are just that, assumptions.
Yeah,
So if
that's
we're
true.
trying to take something factual, then an assumption is not going to cut it. So
okay.
talking about the sun to try to prove the physicality of the Earth or the geometry of the Earth is just the red herring.
Yeah, yes,
It's a false
yes.
argument. So that's what I would say to someone trying to push the sun observations as proof of the shape of the Earth. It's a red herring.
That's almost like hearsay in a way.
In a way,
right?
exactly,
Like
yes.
you hear someone say something, but you don't believe it yourself because you
You
know
haven't
it's-
experienced it or you haven't seen it.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's just an assumption.
Because there's also like this. There's this really great quote that says this: "You can't believe what comes out of anyone's mouth until you see the actual proof about what they're saying."
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the truth is, right? Like, you know, we believe that religion is here. Religion will always be here, right?
Yeah.
But can you prove into that these people actually did walk the lands that they say they did? You know, you really got to ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Did these people ever walk the land, or were they just in this timeline of their life where, you know, it did not really coerce themselves? You know what I mean? Because, like, the time I met you, right, we were talking about this entirely. But
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
since I'm finally in UCR, right, we get to talk about this more because I'm
Yeah,
really
sure.
excited about this. But what's really interesting is that physics contradicts a lot of stuff what people believe.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
just like how politics, and that's a whole another
Yeah.
debacle debate and everything.
Yeah.
But when you look at physics and politics, it's almost kind of identical in a sense based on the middle ends of the spectrum.
I would say it's similar in a sense where people are just ignorantly buying into
Yes,
both ideas.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
they're
Because like
pushing.
you could say that you're a flat earther, but then you could say, "Oh, the Earth is round. I went on the plane and I actually did a U."
Right,
because
right.
like, actually, it's really interesting. One YouTuber even said that, "But why does the plane go in the U? Like, if you start in New York and you want to go to Australia, you have to go all the way."
It only does the
down
U.
the
Yeah. It only
Earth.
does the U in a projection though.
Yeah.
It only does it on a screen.
Yeah.
In reality, it doesn't do that. It goes straight. Airplanes fly level. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Because some person was saying that, right? But then one of the other YouTubers who was in that group, right? But he said, "No, you're wrong.
Okay.
The plane literally just goes straight.
Yes,
That's an
yes.
imaginary." It's almost like the Disney Channel when they do the launch,
Yeah,
even though it's
yeah.
it's CGI. It's
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
even real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's in a computer screen. Anything that you can show in a computer screen, if you can't show it in reality, then I'm not gonna believe the computer screen over reality. You know?
Yeah. So also another thing is, you know how like you were talking about physics, right?
Yes.
It's interesting because I'm an expert in cybersecurity now.
Okay.
So when it comes to the field of cybersecurity, there's also a lot of misinterpretation about that.
Okay.
Same thing about physics, right? There's a lot of interpretation about that.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, everyone thinks that since I'm in cybersecurity, they think I'm a hacker and they think I just do computers and they think I just do like stereotypical stuff, right? Even though the reality is, right, it's almost like you're talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is way more than what people expect him to be.
Exactly. You guys want to give it a shot?
Wait, what's this about?
It's two very easy questions to see if you guys trust your common sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? You guys want to do it together? The more the better. Yeah. All right, cool. So again, two very easy multiple choice questions. So the first one here, I have 3 box trucks and they're completely sealed and they're all on a level surface. And they all have an apple hanging from a string inside. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yeah. Why do you guys think it's B?
Because there's no movement, And without movement, nothing can really move.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no movement, so the ball is staying vertical. It's not swinging, so it shows you that it's at rest. Exactly. Which one's accelerating forward?
Okay.
Yes. How do you guys know that one's accelerating forward?
Speed. Just go forward. Everything should go forward. You can come
So due to inertia will be the reason. So the apple is remaining its position in space, but the whole truck's moving forward, which gives the illusion of the apple swinging back because it's being left behind, pretty much due to inertia. So all right, you got the first one. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple hanging from a string, it's a helium balloon inside of the box truck. So out of these three, which one is at rest?
B.
Yes, and it's for the exact same reason as the first, because it's not moving, it's remaining vertical. Which one's accelerating forward?
C.
Yeah, you got it. How do you know that one's accelerating
Air
forward?
pressure or something like that.
Yeah, it has to do with air pressure. So when you accelerate the container in this direction, the air that's inside the box truck is also being pushed in that same direction, which is creating air pressure, and is able to push the helium balloon in that same direction that the force is being applied. So there's two reasons why it moved that way. It's because it's less dense in the air, and there was a force in that direction. So you guys heard of buoyancy, right?
Yeah.
So buoyancy always follows the direction of the force, and that's why, because it's less dense in the medium that surrounds it, and the medium is able to push it, right? So yeah, I can demonstrate that here. So this is a ball that's buoyant inside of water. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the ball's gonna go?
That way. Well,
Same direction.
Same direction as the force, exactly. So it gets pushed in the same direction as the force. So here, I recreated this experiment inside of a cargo van just to see if you guys can get it right.
Yeah.
And I also put an apple in there just to make it even easier. So based on the principles that we just learned, what direction did I accelerate this container? To the right or to the left?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, because again, buoyancy shows you the direction of the applied force. That's the direction the air was moving, so it pushed the helium balloon in that direction. Exactly. So let me ask you guys this. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
So,
So there's two reasons why it goes up. Why do you think?
lighter than a pen.
That's the first reason. What's the second reason?
Pressure.
Pressure. But what creates pressure?
I have
A force. A force. So you need a force, and obviously you need the balloon to be less dense in the air. So the air is pushing up the helium because it's more dense, and there's a force acting on the air, pushing it up. So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction, which then pushed the helium in that same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up a helium?
I forgot what it's called. It's something has to do with like magnetic poles or something.
Oh no, it has nothing to do with magnetism.
The only force I can think of is gravity.
Yes, it is gravity. But the reality is, gravity, the force of gravity is actually a push of the Earth, not a pull. So the Earth is literally pushing up on you right now. So the Earth is moving up, and that pressure is what's creating the air pressure here on Earth, and which is pushing up the helium in that same direction as the force. So the Earth's force is a push, not a pull. So I don't know if you guys knew, gravity as a pulling force is actually just a theory. So that's why Einstein came out of his theory of relativity, general relativity, to explain why the force is down, but in reality it's actually up. And that's why it's just a theory. So a downwards force has never been measured or detected. So the reality is it's the other way around. So the Earth is literally moving up through space right now, not pulling you down. So let me ask you guys this, because this is the real reason why I'm doing this. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Is this
A
it's an
sphere
oval.
or a ball, or oval, whatever you guys
Yeah.
want to call it. But you guys understand that on a ball Earth or an oval Earth, up is relative. In other words, if you're standing here, up will be this way for you. But if you're standing down here, up will be like in the opposite direction. And obviously if you're standing here, up will be this way. So every direction away from the center will be up. If we could prove that the ground, the Earth, is literally pushing up and not pulling us down, and buoyancy shows us that the force is up, how can the Earth move up for someone here and someone down here at the same time, for example, if it was a ball? How can it move like this and like this at the same time?
Stagnant?
Stagnant?
As in like
It's not moving then?
yeah.
Well, then the Earth wouldn't be pushing up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction away from the center, which would it would just explode. It wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove that it's the other way around and it's actually a pushing force, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So that's the number one proof to debunk the ball Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. And buoyancy shows us that. So if I was to ask you guys, so what does that mean? Let me just say that. What does that mean? So the Earth is actually a level extended plane. It's pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. So again, gravity is just the motion of the Earth pushing up. but it's a level extended plane, not a ball. So that's what that proves, in other words. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Because we've been drilled that since we were kids.
Okay, you're being honest. That's actually true, because I believe it for that same reason as well, because that's what I was told. Is there any other reason why you believe it?
If you look out into the horizon, you can't
See forever.
see.
Okay, so they do say that the horizon is the curve of the Earth, but in reality, there is a limit to how far we can see. So it's called the limit of perspective. So we do have a limit to how far we can see. So the horizon is simply the limit to how far we can see. So it's the limit of our field of view. That's what the horizon is. So the horizon is not a physical thing. It's not a physical curve. It's an apparent thing. The horizon's apparent. So again, it's simply just the limit of perspective. Yeah, no worries. So again, anybody that thinks that that's the curve of the Earth, they just don't understand perspective.
Wait, are you trying to convince us that the Earth is flat?
No. So the Earth is not flat. So the whole flat Earth versus globe Earth is a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
So flat Earth is wrong. So over 95% of flat earthers believe the Earth is motionless. So they deny that the Earth is pushing up. They deny that the force of the Earth is a push, which can easily be proven with buoyancy. So they claim the Earth is motionless and that objects accelerate down by some magical pulling force as well. So just like Einstein came up with his theory of, now flat earthers have a theory of their own of why objects accelerate down, even though there's no measurable force in free fall. The force is up measurably. And they completely deny that as well. So flat earthers and globe earthers are no different. I get hate from both of them, believe it or not. Because I'm exposing both of their models. That's the reality. So I don't push a model, I push physics. And physics shows me that the Earth is a level plane that's pushing up. So that's what reality shows. So before you guys go, do you think there's any possibility that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it's a ball?
I don't know at this point.
Okay, I'm glad that you're kind of like not committing to a globe after, because a lot of people would say that, oh, I'm still convinced that it's 100% a globe, but then it can explain why.
Yeah.
I feel like these people just are obviously just ignorantly believing it or just wanting it to be true with no, put it this way, most people don't even know why they believe the ball Earth. They just believe it. And it's because that's what we've been told and that's what we've been shown on TV. But, all the images that show us about the globe Earth on TV, for example, they're all just CGI, they're cartoons. Yeah. So any questions for me before you guys go?
I like the physics aspect.
Oh yeah, physics. Here's another one. Number 2 proof. It has to do with physics. Real quick before you guys go. You guys know the radius of the Earth that they tell us? So the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, allegedly. That's what they tell us. So based on the radius of the Earth and using a simple calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile. And it turns out there should be 8 inches per mile squared. So that means in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So how do we measure for that curve, right? If it's truly there. There's a very easy way. Okay, no worries. So real quick, just if we went to a giant lake that had water and the water was at rest and we build a level structure above it to see if water does bend, water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because when water is contained at rest, the surface always collapses and forms a level surface, which is horizontal. They're trying to tell us that water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles, which is a physical impossibility. Water doesn't have the ability to maintain this shape when it's contained and at rest. The surface always forms an equal surface, which is level. So again, the physics of water will debunk the globe Earth as well. It shows that there is no physical curvature of the Earth. So that's the number 2 proof. So yeah. So you have any questions before you go? No? Okay, well here's my channel. You guys can give it a read. Inside of the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe Earth, on top of the number 1, which is that the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So you guys can give it a read, and my channel's in the front as well.
Thank you.
And the other side. Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Yeah, I appreciate the chat. Yeah, thank you. You guys have a good one. All right, bye-bye. All right, and now we're in 14. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, some students are just like standing watching. We'll see if they approach the table. All right, let me check out the chat real quick. What's up, Martin? Good to see you. Max Mees. Who else is new? Or at least new today. Salinellian, what's up? Winter Rain. Yeah, so I think this new approach of like asking there's 2 reasons why a helium balloon rises, I think is key. You know, it just came to me that I was like, yeah, because again, everybody says, well, why does a helium balloon rise? Oh, it's because it's less dense in the air, you know. But it's like, that's just half the answer. You know, there's another reason why a helium balloon rises. It's not just a density difference. Because if you just have a density difference, why doesn't the helium go left or right or down, right? It has direction. And in order to have direction, you know, you need a vector. And in order to have a vector, you need a force. So that's what happens. So yeah, those are the 2 things. Again, you need a density difference, you need the buoyant object to be less dense than the medium that surrounds it, and you need a force. And depending on the direction of the force, that's going to dictate what direction the helium balloon rises, what direction the buoyant object rises. So it's not just about helium, it's anything that's less dense than the medium that surrounds it will be affected, will move in the same direction as the force. You know, because you require a force, you require motion of matter to push something else. Something can push something else if that thing's not moving in that same direction. That's impossible. That's literally impossible. That would not work. You know, but they want you to believe that. Flat earthers and globe earthers want you to believe that it's possible, that the air is pushing up a helium balloon even though the air is not being pushed up. So the air is not moving up through space, but somehow is able to push up a helium balloon. Like, how the fuck does that work, right? But yet they want us to believe that. They want us to deny our common sense, throw away your common sense in favor of an explanation and an image, right? Fuck that. Fuck that, you know? I'm gonna go with my common sense. I'm gonna go with what physics shows me, and it shows me that the air is being pushed up. And again, air cannot push itself. Air cannot push itself. That's a reality. Air cannot create air, you know, pressure by itself. Air just doesn't, you know, all of a sudden just create pressure, right? Without moving. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, that's what they want you to believe. That's retarded. That's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, you know, but yeah, so I think those are going to be the 2 main points from now on. Anybody that denies these 2 points, you're bound to provide a presentation or a demonstration of why you disagree with it. Because if you disagree with it just because you have an image or a belief in your head or because your imagination doesn't let you or whatever, then it's a personal issue. Now, if you disagree with it because you have something practical that doesn't align with that, or maybe that shows something else, or something else is able to get these effects, in other words, then I would love to see your presentation. You know, if you deny that in order for a buoyant object to move through a medium, if you deny that you need a density difference and a force in order for that to happen, and depending on the direction of the force, that's the direction the buoyant object is going to get pushed. If you deny those fundamental principles, then you're bound, again, to demonstrate why you disagree with that. You know, there's no going around it. There's no going around that fact. You know, that's a fact. You know, those are the 2 factors that are required: a density difference and a force. You can't have motion without a force. Fact. A buoyant object cannot get pushed by the medium that surrounds it if it's not less dense than the medium that surrounds it. Fact. That is what we will call buoyancy. Fact. Again, these are factual points, you know, that cannot be dismissed. If you dismiss them, then you're not being honest with yourself, you're being disingenuous, and you're not for truth. You're not for truth. You're in it for something else. You know, for whatever reason that may be, I don't give a fuck. But you're not in it for truth, and that's what matters to me. If you're not in it for truth, then you're irrelevant to me. I don't give a fuck about you or anybody in that sense that has that mentality. If you don't give a fuck about truth, then I don't give a fuck about you. That's simple. I only care about people that actually care about truth, objective truth, for that matter. You know, to be more specific. If people don't give a fuck about objective truth, then it's a personal issue, and I hope that, you know, life goes great for you, and I wish you the best. But to live a life in ignorance, in my opinion, you're only living a lie. So again, I only have respect for those people that are actually honest and are actually open to the truth, objective truth, physical truths, not history. Like, oh, you don't believe history? That's true. History is all just it's in the name. It's his story. History is just his story. It doesn't mean it's fact. It doesn't mean it's factual. You know, history is just his story. It's just a story. Cool story, bro. That doesn't mean I'm gonna believe it. So anybody trying to push history as fact is a complete fucking moron. It's a complete and fucking imbecile if you think history is fact. You know? But yeah, I only push physical truth, physical facts. You know, that's what I'm about. You know, and again, anybody that disagrees with me, I would love to hear your reasonings to why. Anybody that disagrees with reality, right? Because that's all I'm presenting. I'm presenting how reality behaves, what happens, the effects, and recreating them. You know? So anybody that disagrees with reality, please demonstrate why. Please. Equinox, or they talk about theoretical physics and look down their noses at natural science. Yep. Yeah, all the people that talk about theoretical physics, astrophysics, for example, they completely dismiss natural physics. It's like when you start talking about natural physics, natural science, in other words, or physics, it's like they put a wall up now. It's like they don't want to talk about reality and how matter behaves here on Earth. They want to talk about outer space and what they've been taught about outer space and what the fuck's going on in outer space. People would rather talk about that than what we could literally prove to ourselves here physically. Think about that. If that's not insanity, then I don't know what is. Like, think about that. That's no different than, oh, you prefer talking about Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, which I hate to say, a lot of people would rather talk about that than the actual physical reality we inhabit. I hate to say it, but people would probably prefer, you know, to entertain Harry Potter over physical reality, which is no different than entertaining outer space and all this bullshit. You know, might as well talk about Star Wars. Entertain Star Wars and take it serious, you know? Let's watch Star Wars and take all the physics there serious, right? Fuck natural science. Fuck physics. Fuck that. I'd rather believe Star Wars, right? That's more fascinating to me. It intrigues me more, so I'm gonna just place more relevance in that, right? That's what people want. then reality is not for you. I hate to say it.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What do you do?
I'm actually asking two very easy questions to see if people trust their common sense.
Okay.
You want to give it a shot?
Curious. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely. Good. Here's the first one. They're multiple choice too, to make it even easier.
Okay, so what do I have to just?
So
just
I'm gonna explain the question, and then we'll see if we can get it. So
okay.
Here I have 3 box trucks, and they're completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface.
Okay.
They also all have an apple hanging from a string. The
Okay.
only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
It have to be B, right?
Why would you say B?
Because if it was accelerating, inertia momentum would cause the entire truck to move. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. No, because then
No,
the
yeah.
apple, yeah, because the apple could be moving at the same speed.
No, we're talking about acceleration.
Okay.
Acceleration in specific. So one is at rest. Which one's at rest? Let's get that one out of the way first.
Okay.
Which one's at rest? One of these 3 is at rest.
I'm gonna guess B because it looks like there's
Yeah,
no motion.
it is B. And what would you say B though, if you had to explain why?
If I'd say because there's no motion or acceleration
Of the apple.
moving of the apple.
Yeah, it's
Or else it'd be
remaining
tilted.
vertical. Yeah.
Right?
The vector is still remaining vertical.
Correct.
Exactly. So which one's accelerating forward?
So forward, it'd have to be this one, A, because if you're moving in a forward direction, the apple would be moving backwards as you go because it's being pushed by the momentum forward, correct?
Yeah, so the apple's not necessarily moving back, it's just being left behind due to
Yes.
inertia. So the whole container's moving forward and the apple is being left
Same thing
behind.
as like being in a car crash. You're being moved forward and you can crash while the car is stopped.
Yes,
Yes.
and you're still moving forward, but this is the other way around.
Okay.
The truck is moving forward and this is being left behind,
Yes.
the apple. And not until the truck's able to tug it with the rope, and not until then is able to pull the, I guess you can say, the apple, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so you got it. So it was 8, you know, obviously the twin ratio. So the second one is pretty similar, but instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon.
Oh,
so that's the only difference now.
Okay, now I don't know how this would work.
Yeah, I know. So which one's at rest, first of all?
Oh, they act really weirdly.
No, but we're talking about at rest right now. But yeah, they do act a little different.
I'm gonna say still B.
Yeah, it is B.
Yeah,
And it's for the exact same
it's
reason
the
as the
exact
first,
same reason.
because it's vertical and it's not moving.
Exactly.
So which one's accelerating forward?
Ooh, I want to say C actually.
Okay. Why do you want to say C?
I don't know. I feel like it probably is wrong, but I just feel like it would act a little bit weirdly.
It will act different,
It
right?
would act a little bit differently.
Yeah, okay. And it is C.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you why. There is 2 reasons why it's C. The first reason is helium is less dense than air.
Yes. That
And the
makes sense.
second reason is the force of the truck pushing in this direction pushes the air in that direction as well through space.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then the air, because it's more dense than helium, is able to push it in the
push
same
the
direction.
helium.
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
that makes
so
so
those
much
are the 2
sense.
reasons. You require a density difference, less dense than the air, and you
Okay.
require a force. And that's why a helium balloon would move. You
Oh,
know?
that's-
So that's what we will call buoyancy. It's like a knock-on effect.
Okay.
You know, something pushing on something else that's pushing something else that's less dense.
Oh,
right?
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I can demonstrate that here. Look, this
Okay.
is a buoyant object inside of water. Water is more dense than this ball. If I apply a force in this direction, what do you think the direction of the ball is going to be?
To the right?
Yes.
Oh, it does.
So it gets
And-
pushed in the direction of the force. Buoyancy gets pushed in the direction
And
of the
because
force.
when you stop, it hits the right and bounces
Yeah,
left. Oh,
yeah.
and it goes back to the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what buoyancy is. So let me ask you this. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
Still up.
Again, there's 2 reasons why that happens.
Less
What are the
dense.
2 reasons? Less dense in the air. What's
Right?
the second reason?
And then the air will be pushing up, right?
Yes. So
That
a
makes
force.
sense.
So a force. So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction, which in result pushed the helium in the same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up the helium as well?
I guess wind power. I wouldn't understand.
Because the air can't push itself. Again, it requires something external to push it. In this case,
rotational
it was
force,
the truck.
like air's rotational force, I suppose.
No, it's not.
Could you explain?
So the answer is the Earth. So
Yeah.
gravity. But here's the
still gravity.
Yeah, it is gravity. But here's the thing: the gravity of the Earth is actually a push, not a pull. So the Earth is pushing up on you right now.
That
So
makes
it's literally
sense. That's how I'm
moving up.
standing.
And
Yes.
yes, exactly. So it's not pulling you down towards it. It's pushing up against you, and that's what we have to balance still.
Okay.
Because it's pushing up against us. And that motion of the Earth pushing up is what's pushing up the air as well, creating the air pressure here on Earth, which is then able to push helium in that same direction. Of
That
the
makes
force.
sense.
So the Earth is literally moving up through space right now and not pulling you down. So I don't
Okay.
know if you knew gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So there's a theory of
Okay.
Newton and the theory of Einstein, but they're both just theories, meaning that they haven't been physically proven.
Okay.
So a downward force of matter accelerating down in free fall has never been detected or measured because the force is actually up. Buoyancy shows us that. So they're never gonna be able to prove it. In other words, because it's the other way around. That's
that
the
is
reality.
interesting.
So
I
here,
never knew that.
So the real reason why I'm doing this is because you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Correct.
So do you understand that on a ball, up is relative? In other
Yes.
words, if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing here, up, up is in every direction away from the center. It's relative. But if we could prove that the Earth is pushing up instead of pulling you down, and buoyancy shows us that, how can the Earth move up, for example, for someone up here this way and someone down here this way at the same time?
Huh.
How can the Earth move up like this and like this at the same time?
That is true. I don't know.
It wouldn't work. That would mean the Earth will have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction away from the center,
Okay.
and it'll just explode. So it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's a pushing force, and buoyancy shows us that, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So that's why they push gravity as a pulling force, because they want us to believe in the globe Earth.
Okay.
Because again, the Earth is actually an extended level plane, and we're all standing on it, and up is just in one direction. So the Earth is just moving up in one direction like this, because
Okay.
the Earth is just an extended plane, a level plane. So that's the reality. So that's the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So if I was to ask you respectfully, why do you believe the Earth is a ball?
I guess I've seen pictures on it.
Okay, so images of the Earth.
Images. I guess it makes sense because it has a curve on it. Or else we'd be able to see everything, right?
Yeah, so you think the horizon is like the curve of the Earth?
Correct.
So there is a limit to how far we could see. So there is a limit to perspective. And the horizon is simply that. It's the limit of our field of view. So the horizon is not a physical thing. It's actually an apparent thing. so the horizon is only apparent. Because when you increase altitude, you get a different horizon.
Okay.
Because you're increasing your field of view now.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense.
So again, we do have a limit to how far we can see, and that's why we can't see forever. It's not
Yes.
because of a curve of the Earth. Technically, it's because of the curve of our eye, because we have spherical vision, and everything converges to a point because we have spherical eyes.
Okay.
So there is a limit to how far we can see based on our vision.
Okay.
So not the curve of the Earth.
How about the second point?
So here's what was the second point?
Pictures.
Images. Okay, so images here. I have two images here from NASA. Here they are. These are official NASA images, 2002 and 2012.
Okay.
They admit that all the images they show us from outer space are all CGI. So these were made in a computer. So a real, genuine photograph of the Earth as a whole from outer space as a ball doesn't exist.
Okay.
So they're all computer generated.
May I add a good point?
Yes.
So, what about the planes that take, in this case, multiple stops to reach around the Earth?
So circumnavigation.
Yes.
So here, I'll explain to you what that is. So on a globe Earth, the north will be at the top, right?
Okay.
So going east and west will just be going this way, and you just come back around this way. Or if you go east, you go this way, or west, and then you come back this way, right?
Okay.
That's how circumnavigation will work on a globe, right?
Yes.
On a level Earth, again, I don't push any model because in my opinion, this is not what the layout of the Earth looks like. But if the globe Earth was simply just flattened out, this is what it would look like.
Okay.
But again, I don't buy into this map because I believe that it looks completely different. But just for demonstration purposes, the North Pole will just be in the center point in this model. So east and west will just be circles around the center. So you'll come back to the same spot. So circumnavigation will work on a level Earth or a globe Earth. So it doesn't prove anything, basically.
Give me a minute. I do need to check the time. I
Alright, no worries.
Actually, I do need to leave.
Yeah,
right
here
now.
you go. Here's my channel, and I go to other universities
Okay.
to challenge the current narrative. And inside of the 6 top proofs that debunk the globe Earth physically, and on top of the number 1, that the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. That's
Okay.
the number 1 proof.
Nice meeting you.
So I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, take care. Yeah, I had to reprint this again because a lot of people do ask about circumnavigation, but again, I specifically say every time I show this map that it's wrong, that it's not the actual layout of the Earth. I'm only using it as a reference to explain away circumnavigation. That's the only reason why I kind of printed it again. It's just to show east and west navigation on a level surface because a lot of people think that proves the globe. So I just wanted to kind of like throw that out the window by showing how that could work from a level Earth as well. But again, by no means am I pushing an AE map, a Gleason's map for that matter. I'm not pushing any map for that matter, you know. It's just to demonstrate how circumnavigation could work on a level Earth based on the North Pole, you know. So I know the trolls are gonna come like, oh, you see, you do push a model, you do push the AE model, like, nah, nah, fuck that map. And again, I already had gotten rid of it, but a lot of people were asking about circumnavigation, and it's kind of hard to like explain it without the visual, right? So I kind of just did it for that, you know. But it doesn't prove the layout of the Earth. It doesn't prove that that's what the continents are relative to each other, the sizes, you know, and if there's more land or not, you know. So yeah. Robert, helium rises because of gravity? Yeah, because it's a push, not a pull. What's up? No, yeah, so you were saying Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think you were about to say something about him.
Yeah.
So what do you think about him?
Just like a lot of different ways and stuff. But if you think about it, right, like, you know, really just trying to just find my way, you know, through life and stuff.
Right.
Just because, you know, like how you're just pulled in so many different directions.
Oh yeah,
you
definitely.
want to go through.
Definitely.
And you know, like the way you try to talk to people, where you get to know people, like the truth that I love talking to people, but at the same time, it's like, how do you talk to people, you know? It's like that real hit or miss. Like, how do you talk to people? How do you get to know people? How do you get to interact with people? And just like, it goes with any topic. Like, physics, you'll find a lot of physics majors, but they're not out in the open.
No,
You know,
that's true.
you will see a lot of students, no doubt about it, but will you see that one particular major you're looking for? Absolutely not.
Right.
Because coming in this type of environment, because look at this. I went to like 3 Christian clubs right now, and my mind is like pulled in so many different directions.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's almost like how you're confident of talking about subjects that can be a little bit controversial in a sense, but you're not afraid to stand your ground, and that's what I'm also doing too. I'm not afraid to go to these clubs and just interact with people.
Sure.
And at the same time, like, interacting, talking to people, getting to know people is very fascinating.
Again, if we're talking about something that's real and physical, you know, then it's all about reason at that point.
Yeah.
If you're being unreasonable to try and prove your point without anything practical, then you're just talking shit at that point. You're just talking about your imagination or stuff like that. But again, if we're talking about something real, then there has to be a way we can reason with each other, and that's what
you
this is
technically
about.
shot yourself in the foot at that point.
Pretty
It's
much.
almost like you contradicted yourself. It's like you were basically saying, like, oh yeah, my point is wrong and your point is not right, and like we're both wrong. But then I still have that ego proving that everything that I do is correct in ways.
Well, what I present, it's what physics shows me. You know, I go with what physics shows me. I don't make things up. I don't start making up beliefs or making assumptions, because I think that's where you start going into like religions, you know, type of thing.
And that goes into the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
You know,
rabbit
you
hole.
dig a rabbit hole.
Yeah, if you're starting from a false premise, then everything that you come up with is going to be wrong if you're starting from a false premise. And that's where the false premise is with the globe, is that people believe gravity is a pull instead of a push. And that's where the false premise is, and everything that's built off of that just falls apart physically because it's not true.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. But yeah.
The one question I want to ask you is,
Sure.
do you think in life you will ever find your community, or do you think in life that you have to diversify yourself in different communities just to see how stuff is?
Yeah, so when it comes to trying to reach other people, then I kind of have to go in like into kind of other communities, you could say, to speak to people. But when it comes to like joining a community, I think the best thing to do is to start your own community type of thing, start your own way of life type of thing. Other people will maybe follow. You know, if you see someone doing something that resonates with you, then, you know, not necessarily follow them, but maybe copy them, maybe if it resonates with you, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so again, all of communities that are based on equality, I'm all for, but communities that are based on a hierarchy where people just follow a certain guru or something, that's where it just starts to fall apart. So it depends what kind of communities we're talking about, you know. But yeah, definitely I would.
It's almost like you're not being faithful, I guess, in a way, in a sense, because like you follow a Christian club, but then you don't believe in what they say. It's almost like you're contradicting yourself because you're not believing on the faith of Jesus.
Right.
Or it's kind of the opposite. Maybe you do believe in Jesus, but you're so skeptical about him. You know, you're asking what if questions. Like,
right.
What if it was this? What if it was that? Did someone really smash 2 stones together and create the 10 Commandments? Was that really true, or was
right.
that false? You really got to ask yourself these questions. You know, there's even like a lot of weird stuff. Like, you know, there's one person, actually this is really hilarious, but one person said that Jurassic Park was their favorite movie, right?
Okay.
And then another person said Jurassic Park isn't real. And that got the other person mad because the reason why they say it is real because of dinosaurs.
Right.
It's funny.
I see it. I don't think you guys want to give it a shot? No, all right, no worries. Yeah, no worries. Alright. No, yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a movie, you know. It's just, I mean, people could believe whatever they want at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Sometimes you just gotta think of the will, the way, and the truth.
Yeah.
A lot of ways. But I feel like if you're, like, I feel like, personally, right? I feel like if you don't fit in with any crowd, I feel like you should not be in any crowd. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Be you. That's what I'm saying. You start being you, and if anybody resonates with that, then they'll start, you know, following, I guess, or that's the wrong word, but again, yeah, just be you, like you said. Yeah.
I guess, or people would just start being your friends at first, and then they'll try to understand what you like
too.
and what you understand, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, since this is my first day and I haven't been on this campus for 5 months,
Okay.
it's almost like saying like, do I really go for the Hail Mary and I try to achieve something that is never going to be achievable? Let's just be honest about that. Or do I focus on my classes and my studies and then use these clubs as an outreach for networking? I think that's the best idea to do, because if you're stumped with classes and you don't have time for any of this stuff, at least you can prioritize one club. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Like, yeah, of course, you can look at 3 people's opinions, but do you really believe in their opinion? No, you're going to believe in that one opinion because that's the people that's going to resonate with you the most.
Sure.
Like, for an example, I could see you making your own physics club because you love physics and you're going to find a lot of people who also enjoy physics with you, but then you're going to have like those people who are going to have their questions on why did you start this club, and then you're going to tell them the facts about physics, and then maybe, who knows, you're going to change their mind and they're going to join you.
Fair enough.
Because maybe what they were taught in the world was a lie and you're telling the truth.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's almost like the reason why I say that, right? Just think about it. The way you think of like Jesus and the gospel and everything, right? You can believe all the lies that people say about Christianity, but once you're a true believer and you understand Jesus, then you inevitably become a believer. You know what I mean? It's almost like, you know, like people say a 9 to 5 is a rat race. You know what I mean? Like people say 9 to 5 is a rat race, but what do you think about that? Do you believe that? Do you think 9 to 5 is like a rat race, like it's just eating people alive, or do you think that YouTube is just spreading misinformation like crazy?
I think 9 to 5 is a rat race. It's you're achieving a goal that's not really
not really resonating with you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're buying into this idea of an economy and trying to accumulate this economy, you know, as much as you can, you know, money, you know, and then at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you understand the economy, you realize that it doesn't even have value. The value that it has is because we put faith in it. That, you know, it's not even backed by gold anymore, the economy. So it's just printing money out of thin air. Okay. So it's just a tool that's being used to control us. So anybody that focuses on that and that 9 to 5, trying to make it, you know, then you're fucked. In my opinion, you're chasing your tail at the end of the day.
That's true. You're chasing a lot of stuff that,
you know. But again, it does come with a luxury lifestyle, maybe having more comfortable living, you know, because obviously people believe in money, so they're going to be willing to do work for you, for example, you know, and you're going to be able to have a more cushioned, laid back life.
Not to mention, you're going to be financially stable.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about bills.
Yes. You're not going to be fighting for that money.
You're not going to be stressed out as much. So in those sense, it is beneficial, but at the end of the day, you're still chasing your tail when it comes to the overall picture. Because again, money is just a man-made tool that doesn't even have value, but yet we put our whole attention to it, you know, literally. So
yeah, of course.
That's what it comes down to. No, I appreciate the chat, man. I appreciate you stopping by, and yeah, I wish you the best.
What is your phone number, actually?
I don't share my phone number, but you can take my channel. I actually have my email on there too. If you took my channel before, right?
That is the same pamphlet that I have.
Yeah. My email is usually in the video description, and you can reach out to me like that. But
yeah. Because me personally, myself, I'm starting to start like a paradox type of channel. You know, explaining people like how paradoxes work.
Okay.
And I truly believe in that stuff, really, because like if you think about it, there's always a negative to what people have to say. You know how people say like you're the smartest guy in the room? I'm sorry to say it, but there's a lot of negatives to being the smartest guy in the room.
Okay.
Like what a lot of people don't realize is it messes with you mentally.
Okay.
Because if you think you're a smart ass and you're coming up to people like say, hey, I got all the tools and I got all your answers, so people are not going to talk to you.
Right.
But if you're generally open to people, then they're going to be like, hey, I like you, dude. I like having conversation with you. See, that's a different story.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. No, yeah. That's true.
Actually, one thing you never knew about me was that my last name is Engineer.
Engineer?
Yeah, that's my last name.
Oh, that's nice. That's cool, I guess. Engineer. That's the first time I hear that last name.
Actually, yeah, because my great-grandfather was in the British Navy. He was a mechanical engineer. So based on your last name, based on your job, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Actually, think of Smith, Baker. They were all resumed by people who had jobs.
I see. That makes sense. All right, appreciate it.
Actually, so the only way to remember me is like, hey, I just met
you're going to be
engineer
from now on. Engineer. I'm going to call you that from now on. All right, man.
Brother.
Appreciate it, man. Take care. All right. Oh yeah. Hopefully we get another conversation. Maybe 2 more will be nice, right? We'll see. We'll see.
What's this?
Actually asking 2 very easy questions to see if the students here trust their common sense.
Sure.
You want to give it a shot? Yeah? All right. They're actually multiple choice too to make them easier. So here I have 3 box trucks and they're completely sealed and they're all on a level surface. There's also an apple hanging from a string in all 3 of them. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
My common sense, my instinct says B.
Yeah, it actually is B. Why would you say B though? Gotta explain.
I'd say B because I'm assuming if it's accelerating, an object in motion stays in motion, object at rest stays at rest, right?
Yeah.
So if it starts to accelerate, then the object, yeah. Okay, if it starts to accelerate, then presumably the apple would be swung in one direction versus if it's slowed down, if it, decelerated, it's swinging the other, in reverse.
Sure. Yeah, so obviously this is at rest because it's not moving. You
Yeah.
could say the vector is remaining vertical.
Yes.
So which one would you say is accelerating forward?
I would say, I'd probably say this one.
Yeah,
Accelerating forward right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's for the same reason that you're saying the object at rest will stay at rest. So unless there's a force acting on it. So when you apply a force in this direction, the apple is being left behind. Not until the string is able to pull it with it,
Catch up
that's
and-
when it feels a force. So until that happens, the apple's just being left behind. So due to inertia. Yeah, so yeah, this one's accelerating forward and this one's at rest and this one's reverse. So yeah, pretty easy, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the second one is pretty similar, but instead of an apple hanging from a string is a helium balloon inside the truck. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Feels like this is a trap, but
No, it's physics. It is what it is, in other
that's
words.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
I would say my initial reaction is that it's the exact same as the last one, with B being at rest.
Okay, and then that is correct. So
Okay.
yeah, so and it's for the same reason that it's not moving in any direction. It's remaining vertical. So
Okay.
that's why it's at rest. Which one's accelerating forward? A.
C.
Right? Okay, and this one is actually C.
Hmm.
And there's 2 reasons why it is C. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air, obviously. And the second reason is a force. So when you apply a force in this direction, for example, with the truck, all of the air that's inside the truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space.
And
And
helium.
because helium is less dense than air, the air is able to push it in that same direction.
Okay.
So that is what we will call buoyancy. So it's a chain reaction of a force. That's what buoyancy is. It follows the same direction as the force. So for example, I can show that here. This is a buoyant object inside of water. It's a ball. So if I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the ball is going to go?
Based on that example, it would
Yeah.
go in that direction.
Yeah, it's pushed in the direction of the force, because that's what buoyancy is. So let me ask you this. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
Up.
So there's 2 reasons why it goes up. What are the 2 reasons?
Well, one I know is that helium is lighter than air.
Yes.
So
And then
it's
the
a-
second reason?
Second being, I'm not entirely sure.
It's a force.
Force?
So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction, which then pushed the helium in the same direction, again, buoyancy. Here on Earth, what's generating the force to be able to create the air pressure up to be able to push up the helium up? So what's pushing the air up to be able to push up the helium? What force is that?
Gravity's pushing it down, at least. But
Sure, a pulling force of gravity is pushing it down. So the reality is gravity, but it's a pushing force of the Earth. So gravity is a pushing force of the Earth, not a pulling force. So the Earth right now is pushing up against you. It's literally moving up through space, and that's what's creating the air pressure here on Earth, which is then able to push up a helium balloon because the air is being pushed up as well. So I don't know if you've heard or know that gravity as a pulling force is actually just the theory. So a physical downwards acceleration or a physical downwards force has never been measured or detected. So when something falls towards the ground, it's not the object that moves down to the ground. It's the ground that moves up to the object, because the Earth is in constant upwards motion, and that's what gravity is. It's a push of the Earth, the motion of the Earth. So here's the main reason why I'm doing this. You believe the Earth is a ball, right?
yeah.
Do you understand that on a ball, up is relative? So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction, and any direction away from the center, right? If we could prove physically that the Earth is pushing up and not pulling us down, in other words, it's literally moving up through space, and that's what gives us buoyancy, how can the Earth move up, for example, for somebody right here, and also somebody down here at the same time, if it was a ball?
Not really possible.
Exactly, it's physically impossible. That would mean the Earth will have to just be expanded to be able to push up in every direction away from the center. It will have to be expanding and it will just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if you could prove that the force of the Earth is a push, and buoyancy shows us that, then the whole globe Earth model falls apart. So that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So the Earth is actually just an extended level plane, and it's literally just pushing up in one direction. So that's what gives us our up. It's the direction of the Earth, in other words, or the direction of buoyancy.
That is one of the more interesting flat Earth theories I've heard so far.
Well, it's not a theory, it's based on practical physics. Flat Earth, on the other hand, mainstream flat Earth is a theory because over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the fact that the Earth is pushing up as well. So they're like globe Earth, in other words. They believe that objects accelerate down by this magical force that cannot be measured or detected. So both of those models can be easily be debunked by the motion of the Earth, which buoyancy shows. So both globe Earth versus flat Earth is a false dichotomy. So that's how they're controlling this whole topic, is by giving you two false, I guess, models, in other words. So the Earth is a level plane that's pushing up, and that's what gravity is.
So I guess my main question would be, who benefits from from hiding?
So I'll give you, I don't know because I'm not the one lying, but I'll give you my speculation. So
sure.
The two main reasons why I think they're lying, one is monetary gain. So NASA gets over $70 million every day, which is over $20 billion a year, just to show us CGI images of outer space and cartoons, in other words. So they're obviously stealing money, in my opinion, because they're not really going to outer space. They're just lying to everyone. The second reason is about control. So by disconnecting people from the true nature of the Earth and the fact that this is a creation of some higher power, again, I'm not religious myself, but I accept that it is a creation. By getting people to believe in that we evolved from monkeys and all of that, people are become easily more controllable if people just buy into ideas. Because if people are using common sense, then it's going to be harder to control people. So it's about a cheap shot on our common sense so that we're more easily controllable.
So you're anti evolution?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Evolution is just a theory again. I don't go with theories, I go with physics.
All of evolution?
All of evolution, exactly.
So two questions I have for you.
Yes.
One being on the point of NASA. You know NASA only gets like what, 0.5% of the entire U.S. federal budget?
Yes.
So,
the Army gets more.
Which is by a large amount.
But NASA is an extension of the Army, but sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then two being that, that evolution's been observed in lab environments in terms of microscopic
Adaptation
bacteria.
has been observed, not evolution.
Evolution has been observed from
A
single-cell to multicellular organisms in a lab environment.
A species of animal has never been observed to change to a different species. That has never been recorded.
In terms of, you're saying evolution as a whole?
I'm talking about evolution as in one species transforming into a different species.
So
that has never been. Adaptation has happened where animals adapt to their environment. They'll grow thicker skin. They'll grow, things to adapt to their environment. That I agree with, adaptation. Evolution has nothing to do with that. So evolution claims a species can transform to another different species.
So as per you, single-cellular to multicellular life, that transformation is adaptation, not evolution?
Yes, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So evolution has never been proven. That's why it's just a theory. It's Darwinism, right? It's just a theory. It has never been physically proven. Here's the thing. The first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, obviously. In my opinion, that proves that this is a creation. Because we're experiencing something, obviously, that came from something else. Because something can come from nothing. And you can make something disappear either. So everything is what it always has been. Or, obviously, this is a creation, in my opinion, of something else.
Of what?
I don't know what exists.
Something can be created from nothing.
Yeah, so this whole idea of God, I do acknowledge that there is a higher power, but I don't know what that is. People gave it names like God, but I don't know what that is. But something did definitely create this place. I just don't know what it is.
Wouldn't that be the creation of something from nothing inherently?
So put it this way: the way I see it is, something cannot create itself. Like this table cannot create itself. It required an intelligent designer, right? Just like our human bodies, in my opinion, and everything here, our bodies didn't create themselves. The reality didn't create itself, in my opinion. So it requires something else to create it and put it into motion.
Yeah. Fun thing. Are you a student here, by the way?
I am not a student. I'm just here to challenge the current narrative. So let me ask you this. I'm not sure if I asked you, but because I'm going to be having this conversation. But what do you believe the Earth is about?
For me?
Yeah.
I'd say the large amount of evidence from the majority of scientists, scientific consensus.
Okay,
In fact, I don't think there's really any large gain. Like, if NASA is a massive embezzlement operation, that would be presumably a really crappy form of embezzlement operation, given the fraction of a fraction that it actually manages to supposedly embezzle, for one. Two, the things that have actually been done using NASA, for example, weather prediction patterns, which have been used in multiple areas. For example, predicting droughts in Africa, which has been incredibly useful using, I believe it's SNAP technology? I don't remember exactly. That, and also, general scientific consensus, as well as several thousand years of history going back to, I believe, Aristotle.
So since your whole main premise of believing the globe Earth is based on consensus, could we say then that it's based on faith? It's just
faith in the scientific establishment?
Yeah.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So I would say that when it comes to natural science, faith has no place in it. So because science is measurable, testable, and repeatable. So if something is true, then we don't have to believe it. We can demonstrate it because that's the scientific method. We can prove it by putting it through the scientific method. Now, if somebody just simply believes or places faith that they proved something physically, but they never done it themselves, then I would say that's just like a religion.
Absolutely. But although if I'm doing faith in the work of other people and their evidence, if that's not possible, then I essentially have to test everything myself. For example, what do I have reason to believe that, say, elephants existed? I've never seen one in real life. I'm placing faith in the images produced by other people.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to stuff like that, if you show me an image of when you show me an image, for example, of you flying, for example, I'm not going to believe that because that defies physics.
Sure.
So if you show me an image of something that defies physics, then by default, I have to dismiss it because obviously, like, you walking on water is impossible. But if you show me an image or a video, I would automatically assume you either did some trickery or some camera trickery, one or the other, because that's physically impossible, right? The globe Earth images that they show us from outer space are defy physics as well. So they contradict that the force of the Earth is up, first of all, and also contradicts the physics of water, which physics of water proves that the Earth doesn't curve, physically. So, the radius of the Earth by any chance?
Not off the top
So
of my head.
3,959 miles is the alleged radius of the Earth. So based on the radius of the Earth and using the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be. So it turns out there should be 8 inches per mile squared. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So how do we measure for that? There's a very easy way. If we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across and we build a level structure above the surface of water, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it once it's at rest, for example, because the surface of water, when contained at rest, will always collapse and form an equal surface, which is level, which is horizontal. That's what water does. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water of every lake, it's bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles, which is like a 6-story building, which is just physically not there. It's physically impossible for water to maintain a shape on the surface once it's contained and at rest. It's like having a giant pool filled with water and believing the water is doing this on the surface. That defies physics. So the globe Earth curvature doesn't exist. The oceans are level. That's why we call them sea level, because sea is the ocean and level is horizontal. So the sea level term comes from oceans being horizontal. So because the physics of water, shows us that. So this will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that there is no measurable curvature of the Earth, and the physics of water shows that.
I would be interested in seeing you debate one of the physics professors.
I actually I debated actually in this university in specific a physics professor.
Oh, nice.
And to be honest, he just had the general answers that everybody else has. So he just believed it too, So he didn't have anything practical to demonstrate or why he believes the globe Earth.
Is there a video of that?
Yeah, there is actually on my channel. So you could definitely check that out. And
Sure.
So any questions before you go?
Not particularly. This is fun to see.
No, yeah, definitely. So in here are the 6 top proofs that debunk the globe Earth. On top of the number 1, which is the fact that gravity is a pusher. You could take this, have more. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
And you can give it a look, and
Sure.
Yeah, I go to UCLA and USC as well a lot. So give it a look. Appreciate that. All right.
Hi. Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. You want to give this a shot?
Yeah, let's see it.
Alrighty, let's do it then. So we'll start with the first one.
Okay.
Okay, how much time? Okay, it'll be good. All right. So
Right.
first question. It's 2 questions. So it's the first one. I have 3 box trucks here.
Right.
Right, and then they're all completely sealed, obviously, from the outside. they're all on a level surface,
Uh-huh.
and they all have an apple hanging from a string.
Right.
The only difference between these three box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these three, which one is at rest? Yeah, you got it. So
Yeah.
why do you say that one? You gotta explain.
There's no motion on either side, so it's at rest.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, pretty easy. Which one's accelerating forward? Yes. How do you know that one's accelerating?
Because if it's going forward, then the momentum should swing it back, I think.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's because the apple is being left behind because the
Yeah.
whole container is moving forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's due to inertia.
Yeah.
That's why it's being left behind. So yeah, you got the first one. Second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple hanging from a string is a helium balloon inside with the string. So out of these three, which one is at rest? Yes, and it's for the exact same reason as the first, because it's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's accelerating forward? Nope, actually that one's actually C.
Oh.
So there is two reasons why it's C. So the
Okay.
first reason is that helium is less dense than air,
Mhm.
right? And the second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, for example, all the air that's inside of the truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space. And because air is more dense than helium, he's able to push it in that same direction. Yeah. So that's what we would call buoyancy. It's a
Okay.
chain reaction of a force. You know,
Got it.
something pushing as something else is pushing something else.
Got it.
So I can demonstrate that here. Look, this is a buoyant ball
Yeah.
inside of water that's more dense.
Okay.
If I apply a force in this direction, where do you think the ball's gonna go? Yes. Just push in the front.
But then it go back.
Yeah, because I stopped.
Oh, okay.
That's right. But the initial acceleration
Initial?
will. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, it goes. If you keep accelerating, it's gonna stay in the front.
I see.
Exactly, because that's what buoyancy is. Again, it's a chain reaction of a force.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: if I have a helium balloon here on Earth, because
Alright.
obviously helium is buoyant, right?
Right.
If I release it, what direction does it go?
Up.
Yes, there's two reasons why it goes up. So why do you think it goes up?
Because it's lighter than air, so
Yes.
it can't fall.
So that's one reason. What's the second reason why it goes up?
Gravity is a pusher, not a puller.
Yeah. So the gravity of the Earth is actually a push of the
Yeah.
Earth, not a pull. So the Earth is literally pushing up on you right now, not pulling you down. And that same push up is what's pushing up the air, which is then is able to push up the helium balloon. So I don't know if you knew, gravity as a pulling force is just theory.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's never been actually proven. So the Earth is actually just a level plane that's pushing up like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does okay? So this might sound a little dumb.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
if the Earth's gravitational force is so much heavier than ours, why aren't we getting flung into the sky if the force is pushing up, or if gravity is pushing us up?
Okay, so your body has inertia. So you have mass, obviously. Your
Yeah.
body has mass. So depending on how much mass you have, you're gonna have. If you have more mass, you have more inertia. If
Okay.
you have less mass, you have less inertia.
Right.
So the reason why you don't get flung into space is because your body is resisting the upwards push.
Okay.
Because it has inertia.
And the upwards push is dispersed across enough.
The upwards push is just the ground literally just moving up. So if like you're in an elevator, for example, and the bottom of the elevator is pushing up on your feet, that's what the Earth is doing as a whole.
And it's not enough force to fling us into.
No, it's not enough force to fling us into the air
Okay.
because it's a constant.
I
It's a
see.
constant
Okay,
force.
that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the main reason why I'm doing this.
Uh-huh.
You believe the Earth is a ball, right?
I believe the Earth is like spherical shape.
A spherical shape, yeah, exactly. So you understand that on a ball or a sphere, up is relative.
Yeah.
So if you're standing here, up will be this way for you, but if you're standing down here, up will be this way, in opposite direction.
Oh,
right?
because if I'm standing. Okay.
Yeah, if you're standing down here, obviously up will be this way.
All right, yeah.
Because down will be towards the Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up is in every direction away from the center. In other
Right.
words, away from the Earth. So if we could prove physically that the ground or the Earth is literally pushing up and not pulling us down, in other
Right.
words, the Earth is moving up through space,
Mhm.
and that's what gives us buoyancy. How can the Earth move up in this direction, for example, if you're standing here, and in this direction at the same time if it was a ball? How can it move up if it was a ball?
The Earth doesn't move up like that. Does the Earth move up?
Well, the Earth does move up based on physics. So that's what buoyancy shows us. But how will that work from a globe? I guess that's the question.
Huh, good question. Is there an answer to this question, or is
There
this
is.
a theory question?
No, there is a real answer. So the real answer is that it wouldn't work because if the Earth was pushing up in every direction away from the center,
Yeah.
from a ball Earth, that would mean the Earth would have to be expanding. And it would just explode. It wouldn't work,
Right.
in other words. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's a pushing force, and gravity, the buoyancy shows us that the air is being pushed up to be able to push up a helium, then again, the whole globe Earth model falls apart. So the
Okay.
reality is, again, the Earth is just a level plane, extended level plane in all directions, and it's just moving up in one direction. So up is not relative, it's singular. So everybody's up is the same here on
Okay.
Earth because the Earth is level and not a ball. So that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. Because you require a pull to have a globe. Because if it's the Earth pushing, then it doesn't work.
Okay.
If it's a ball. So let me ask you this respectfully. Why do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Because someone told me it when I was 3.
Fair enough, fair enough. No, that's pretty honest. So yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact is that we've been lied to. Because I believed it too because I was told and I was shown an image on the screen.
Yeah.
But it turns out that all the images from NASA and any other space agencies are just CGI. So it's all cartoons for adults. And everything about outer space, exactly. So they're just trying to cripple us mentally to be able to control us.
Interesting.
So that's why they lied to us, about the shape of the Earth. But
That's
any
all.
questions for me before you go?
No, not really. That's an interesting thing, and I'll turn it over.
Yeah, so just a quick heads up. You've heard of flat Earth, right? Just before
Yeah.
you go. So over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the fact that the Earth's force is a push. So the whole motionless flat Earth, so they claim the Earth is motionless. So the whole motionless flat Earth versus globe Earth is the mainstream debate that's going on right now, but they're both wrong. So just the heads up, if you come across flat Earth, they all claim the Earth is motionless, which is bullshit.
Yes.
It's the Earth is
That
pushing
makes
up,
sense.
literally.
Yes.
So yeah, so here's my channel, and I go to USC, UCLA, and I have conversations all the time with students.
Nice.
So
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Also do.
yeah, appreciate it. All right. All right, let me switch my battery from the action camera because I have a feeling that I'm gonna forget to. How much battery do we have? 31%. I'll just leave it. I think you'll be fine. I don't plan on staying here much longer than like 2.5 hours maybe. We'll see. Alrighty. Let's take a look at the chat, see if there's anything interesting. What the? I put more time than I wanted on the parking. I was only gonna put an hour more. I put an hour and 30 minutes more. Son of a gun. Oh well. Let me see. I guess that just means I'll stay out a little longer. We'll see. I mean, to be fair though, the live streaming phone I'm using only lasts about 3 hours before it dies, live streaming, so I couldn't even go longer if I wanted. Actually, I do have a battery pack, but I have a feeling that it's just gonna overheat the phone, so I don't even know if it'll work. Maybe when it's colder, when it's a colder season, maybe that'll work, but yeah. There's a lot of back and forth going on in the chat. I can't even follow it, to be honest, so I can't even give my 2 cents. Oh man. God dang it. Damn it, man, these little flies are annoying. the rapture happens tomorrow. Yeah, when I was getting here, it's crazy because I noticed that like when I used to get a little nervous doing this, you know, you kind of start feeling some type of way, right? When you're getting nervous, your heart rate increases, your body feels like a little numb, you know, type of thing, right? Crazy thing, I was kind of getting those same feelings coming today, but I realized it wasn't nervousness, it was like excitement. Right? Because I'm not nervous, obviously, doing this anymore, at least, right? So I noticed that it was like a pretty similar feeling, but I was feeling excited, like I don't want to say anxious, but something similar like that, like yeah, like, you know, like excited, I guess, right? I don't know, I can't find the exact word, but point being is I still kind of had like my heart racing a little bit, my body feeling a little numb, right? But it was out of excitement opposed to being out of nervousness. So that was kind of crazy to like to feel, I guess, right? I noticed that it was like a pretty similar feeling. So, yep. Angelito, I came across Flat Earth in 2016, but I never really called myself a flat earther even then. Like, I used the term because that's what the topic was about in a way. Like, that was like the main phrase to talk about this subject, right? It was flat earth was just like a term that I kind of used, but I never considered myself a flat earther, in other words, you know. And if I did, obviously I was wrong. But I don't think I remember ever calling myself a flat earther. Again, if I ever did, then obviously I was wrong. But the reality is nobody's a flat earther, nobody's a level earther. We're just human beings. You know, that's the reality. You're either a realist or you're not, right? And when we first all came across this subject, obviously we weren't realists. Obviously we didn't have the mental capacity to discern for ourselves. Obviously we weren't taught that growing up as children like we should have. So yeah, we were all mentally handicapped when we first came across this subject. So yeah, we were susceptible to being influenced. We were still susceptible to being brainwashed, you know, in other words. And at the end of the day, it all came down to being honest with yourself, right? And discerning for yourself, right? Which I always try to do, you know. If I didn't understand something, I will step back, you know, and look at it again. And if I didn't understand it, I just wouldn't claim it, for example, or I tried not to, you know, at the end of the day. But what comes with all that is understanding, you know, and growth. You know, if you didn't, you know, I would say motionless flat earthers got stuck. You know, a lot of motionless flat earthers went from one belief to another belief without expanding their common sense, without expanding critical thinking, right? They just jump from one boat to another for whatever reason. That's not what I did. That's not what Natalie did, you know, and I would assume that that's not what most of the people here did, you know. If you find yourself in this channel as a flat earther, I would assume that you're somewhat open to, you know, to some of the beliefs that you may have being wrong, right? But at the end of the day, again, I didn't just blindly follow, you know, a guru or a personality. Let's just say a personality, right? I supported certain personalities online, like Eric Dubay. I even shared his channel in my early videos. Obviously, I support Dell, you know, but at the end of the day, we're all individuals, you know, and we all have to figure things out for ourselves. So it's all about bettering your understanding, bettering your common sense, bettering, you know, your discernment, you know, at the end of the day. And that's what it's about. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about being a realist, you know. So I think all of these terms, like, oh, flat earther, you know, level earther, upwards rising earther, you know, globe earther, I think they're just all terms there to just group people into put people into groups, you know, so that they can categorize you now as part of this group now, right? Because if I start saying I'm a flat earther or upwards rising earther, then there might be other groups that are misinforming people that are calling themselves that, and now because I'm calling myself that as well, now I'm going to be grouped with them, right? So everything I say is going to be dismissed now because I'm identifying as a certain group, you know, as a certain label. So that's where, to me, labels are completely irrelevant and kind of like just there to like sway people in a way, like just to give this perception that there's different models, I guess. I don't know, you know, because at the end of the day, it's all about debunking the globe earth and highlighting the physics that debunks the globe earth. At least that's what I've learned throughout the years, right? I wasn't that well equipped, obviously, in my first 6 years of coming to the truth, right? Because I didn't start doing activism till what, 2022, I think, and I came across this in 2016. So it took me 6 years to actually, you know, go out and present this, because I actually felt confident enough at that point. You know, obviously in the beginning, I was still learning a lot myself. I was still, you know, learning how to discern. I was still learning how to apply common sense when it comes to physics and natural science, for example, you know, and stuff like that. And obviously requiring demonstrations of people's claims, which is key. Understanding how matter behaves. All of that came in after, you know, the first 6 years that I came across this subject. Again, all of that was just a learning experience. And it still is. You know, we're always learning. Learning never stops. You know, so if you think that you've learned everything you could have possibly learned, then you're wrong. You know, at the end of the day. So we are always learning. We're always trying to get better, and that's what it should be about. You know, in my opinion, it doesn't matter who came across this first. It doesn't matter whether you believed something else, and that is what matters is being honest with yourself now and moving forward. You know, that's what matters, in my opinion, when it comes to objective truth. And yeah, that's the only way that you're gonna be able to grow, you know, mentally, you know, and as a person as a whole, you know, in my opinion, is by trusting your own intuition, trusting your own common sense, and stop believing other people. Just stop believing other people, especially if their claims contradict physics. You know, stop believing other people. They're only gonna people that are there trying to convince you of something that's not true are just there to try and take advantage of you. That's what's happening. People are there to try and take advantage of you, and that's why they're lying to you. And that's why they're making you question your sanity. And that's why they're lying to you about the reality and what this place actually is, because they want to control you. That's what it's about, you know. So it's time for people to snap out of that kind of mentality and grow a pair, you know, and yeah, and stand up, you know, stand up for yourselves, you know, and yeah. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go for like another 15-20 minutes, see if I could get one more, and yeah, we'll call it after that. We'll see. Raw 28 soul, no worries. No, yeah, beyond belief. I was listening to Eric Dubay dismissing upwards motion in 2016. I was a derp. No, yeah, I can relate to that 100%. Again, I would dismiss the upwards motion of the earth, obviously, but I also wouldn't like 100% like, especially because the Bible will talk about a motionless flat earth. Supposedly, obviously, they're misinterpreting the scriptures, but whenever I would hear people saying that the Bible says the earth is motionless and it's immovable and all this bullshit, to be honest, hearing all that would turn me off to the earth being motionless. So I was like, I never committed, obviously, to any model when it came to that. You know, I was just mainly focused on the physics of water in the beginning, you know, when it came to proving the earth being level, right? So yeah, I did dismiss the upwards motion of the earth. It was shown, it was ridiculed, and I didn't think twice about it, I guess, in my opinion, you know. So I kind of did go along. I wouldn't say to get along, but I just kind of like went along with it, I guess you could say, right? Obviously that was wrong when it came to dismissing the upwards motion of the earth. You know, it just took obviously practical demonstrations to be able to see that, right? So again, we were all wrong. We all believed the globe earth at one point. Again, we were all, especially if you're in the beginning of this, you definitely dismissed the upwards motion of the earth, whether you dismissed it 100% or just put it aside, you know, in the beginning. So we were all subject to that, I guess you could say, to that kind of propaganda. You know, we were all victim to that kind of propaganda, right? But it's when people start coming with demonstrations that contradict the propaganda, is if you don't see it then that just shows that you have a bias. That just shows that you're not in it for the truth. That just shows that you'd rather just follow a personality, you know, online than your own common sense and intuition, right? That just shows that you're just a follower, you know, at that point. So yeah, that's what it comes down to, you know, at the end of the day. And that's what proved to me, that's how I proved to myself that the earth being motionless is a physical impossibility. You know, just like the globe earth, you know, water being level, you know, it's a physical impossibility to conform into the exterior of a ball and display the 8 inches per mile square convexity. You know, that is a physical impossibility for water to do that. So yeah, I mean, we just have to focus on what we can actually prove, you know, and I think that's what's gonna move this whole subject forward, you know. Again, the details about the dimensions of the earth, the layout of the earth, the motion of the earth, the speed, all of that can come after. Once everybody's on the same page that, okay, it is a level plane in upwards motion. Once everybody's on the same page with that as an objective fact, you know, then we can start to theorize based on that fact of what the earth, you know, could be doing, you know, the motion, what it could be, you know. Now we can start theorizing based on the fact that it is moving up, you know. So that would be a viable theory now. That would be a theory that at least is backed up by physics, right? Unlike the theory of gravity, you know, which they build on that theory, but obviously it starts from a false premise that gravity is a pull, right? But if we could theorize from Earth being a push instead, then we'll come up with way better theories, in my opinion. But again, at the end of the day, a theory is not fact. You know, it can get close, right? But again, at the end of the day, it's not fact. And again, and that should come after everybody's on the same page. Once it becomes a known fact, a common fact, I guess you could say, then I would say yes, let's explore, let's find out like the true dimensions, let's try to figure out the layout, right? How far it extends, right? What the motion could be. All of these details can be sorted out after, in my opinion. Because if you start focusing in that and making that a primary thing to try and figure out right now, you're only gonna muddy the waters. You're only gonna make this subject just seem more difficult and ridiculous when you start to focus on that. So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You know, it's just focusing on the physics aspects, you know, of this, and the details can come after. You know, so Thomas, a theory in science explains all the facts. I don't know if you're just trolling when you said that, because if you're trolling, then that's spot on. But if you're serious, obviously, that's not true. Obviously, yeah, that's what they want people to believe, that a theory in science explains all the facts. Gravity, right? But that's, again, that's, your facts are built off a false premise in that sense. If your theory is a pulling force of gravity, and the facts that you get from that theory, based on that theory, then all of your facts are wrong because they're based on a false premise, which is based, you know, which is a pulling force of gravity, you know, which is not true. So, yeah. Like the germ theory or evolution theory. Wrong. What the fuck? Explanations are 10 a penny, yeah. You're welcome. You're funny, Thomas. You're a funny guy. Alright, let's see if I could get one more, and then we'll call it. We'll see in like another 10 or 15 minutes. Let's see how much battery I have left here. 17%. Yeah, that should be enough. Thomas, do you believe the Earth is a globe? Or a stationary flat Earth, if I may ask? Or what do you believe the Earth is, I guess, will be a more open question. What do you think the Earth is, Thomas? I'm curious. Yeah, I would love to hear what you believe, Thomas, because I would also like to hear your reasons to why you believe that. I don't think the Earth is a shape. The surface, it's a level surface. The surface that humans inhabit on the Earth is the level. What the Earth is as a whole, what it is, what's the shape of the Earth as a whole, I don't know. But the surface that human beings inhabit of the Earth is a level. So yeah, a shape of the entire Earth, nobody knows what the Earth looks like as a whole. But the surface that we inhabit, that humans inhabit, that all life inhabits here on Earth, the surface of it, that's here, is level. Geometrically is level. The surface, again, that we inhabit. Again, as a whole, the shape of the Earth, nobody knows. What's the shape, Thomas? I got the wrong one. Okay, this is. Sucks. Oh shit. Alright, I'm gonna switch the battery because I just don't want it to die if somebody does approach the table and it's a good conversation. So I'm just gonna switch the battery real quick. Because I will regret it if it's a good conversation at the end and I don't record the. There's a lot of groups like this walking around. It is the first day, so. Alright, we're back on. We're back on. Alright, just in case again, I get a good conversation here at the end, but we'll see. There was like other things that I wanted to talk about, but I kind of forgot. You know, I kind of do want to write like pinpoints in my notes, you know, that way I don't forget. But at the same time too, I don't want to like, I just want it to come naturally too, you know. But I may write some pinpoints next time if things that I want to talk about, that way I don't forget. Because I think there was like something else I wanted to mention, but can't remember. But oh well. Again, I gave my reasons with the linear acceleration and why that wouldn't make sense to me, you know, and I gave my, what else did I talk about? Yeah, it was one of the main points, how focusing on that is irrelevant at the end of the day, you know. But yeah. Can I go in physics classes? Probably not. I'll probably get kicked out. I think you have to be enrolled in the class to be there. So no, yeah, it will be nice. It will be fun if I was able to go in and challenge professors. You know, that would be nice. But yeah. Oh, I think I'm gonna get one last group coming. It's a group of 4 guys, so that'd be cool. Oh, they kind of ranked it. Oh no, they ranked it. They're walking away there. I think they do want to come. They're just like ranking it. Oh no, they walked away. Damn it. Oh well. Damn, it looked like that group wanted to come, but then they ranked it. Damn it. It's cool, it's cool. Let me see how much battery I have left on my phone. 36%. I may be able to go close to the 3 hours, but we'll see. I mean, I did pay for the parking, you know, might as well, right? Yeah, the beyond belief, because we don't live in a frictionless environment, that's not what we experience. We have inertia. Yeah, there is something there, because even in the elevator experiments, let's say somebody weighs 200 pounds, right? And someone else weighs 100 pounds, right? And you have a scale underneath both of them. When you accelerate up, the person that weighs 200 pounds obviously has way more resistance, so their weight increases more than the person that weighs 100 pounds. So if someone weighs 200 pounds and then and when you accelerate an elevator up, for example, their weight goes up, let's say 10 pounds, so they go up to 210, right? It's an example. The one that weighs 100 pounds, you know, will gain less than that. Wouldn't gain the whole 10 pounds that the 200 person gain. They will gain only like 5, right? You know, theoretically, right? We'll say 5. I don't know the exact numbers, obviously, but it is less. Even though they're in the same elevator, obviously they both have a scale, and they're in the same elevator at the same time. When it initially accelerates up, the person that weighs 200 pounds has more resistance to that initial force. So obviously the person that weighs more has more inertia, in my opinion, because there's more mass there. Just obviously this person weighs 200 pounds versus the person that weighs 100 pounds. So there's more mass there, obviously. So there's more of a resistance there, and that's why they have more of an increase in weight with the same motion, with that same force. So that same force will give, again, somebody that weighs 200 pounds more weight than someone that weighs less. Because in my opinion, yes, there is something there that has, you know, with inertia, you know, there's something there, something that has more mass, has more resistance, obviously, you know, and we can show that. And both of them don't just gain 10 pounds. Obviously, the one that has more mass gains more because there's more resistance, there's more inertia, in my opinion. So yeah, but no, yeah, beyond belief. If everything is constantly moving upward, then the resistance we feel as down must come from moving through a denser opposing medium, even if that medium is not directly visible or understood. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Obviously, again, when it comes to how are we getting the effect here, you know, like how it works exactly. Obviously, that's up, you know, up for investigation. But that is definitely, you know, a possibility, you know. So yeah. Andrew, could be that electrostatics is causing the resistance. I think so. I think that could be, you know, something that could be causing. And it's funny how they call gravity a very weak force. But in my opinion, the resistance, it's a very weak resistance, in other words. So instead of globe, earth, or porn is saying that gravity, oh, it's a force, but it's a very weak force, you know, blah, blah, blah. I think it's the other way around. I think the medium that we're moving through, again, that gives us a resistance. Again, I can't prove this. This is just, you know, it's a very weak resistance. So obviously air has less resistance than water because it's less dense. Obviously there's less resistance. I feel like whatever we're moving through is even like obviously way less than air, obviously. It's a very weak resistance, but you know, it could be there, obviously, you know. So yeah, no, yeah, it's a trip. It's definitely a trip. It's a very weak explanation. Okay. But again, like with the elevator, you know, experiment will show that like somebody that has more mass will have more weight, will gain more weight than someone that has less mass. So there's obviously more resistance when there's more mass, you know. So because if there was no resistance, in my opinion, then technically everything should gain the appropriate amount of weight relative to the force, right? So everything, you know, if everything's in an elevator, for example, and you accelerate up, then everything will just gain 5 pounds, for example, regardless of your mass, right? But that's not what we experience. Things that have more mass gain more weight, and things that have less mass gain less weight with the same force, you know. So there's definitely something there, you know, that has, you know, that has to be looked at. In other words, but yeah. Oh damn, approaching the 3-hour mark. Alright, try to get one more. So hopefully. So there's like ups and downs when it comes to talking to like one person and in a group. So obviously speaking to a group is better in a sense where you're speaking to more people, they're gonna ask more questions, you know, you're gonna have more of a conversation, right? The downside to that is that someone that's actually like taking the subject serious, right, or taking, you know, the presentation serious or whatever, could be influenced by one of their friends that's not taking it serious, right, or maybe is mocking it or whatever. So there could be that kind of like influence from your peers when you're in a group. So that could be the downside to speaking to a group, right? And then the opposite, obviously, when you're speaking to a person by itself, the good thing about that when you're speaking to one person is that they're not going to be influenced by their friends or by their peers, right, in real time, right? So you're going to get more of a genuine response, in other words, rather than being influenced by your friends that are kind of laughing, right? So that would be like the upside when speaking to one person. The downside to that would be that obviously it's better to speak to more people, you know, at once, because there's going to be more questions, there's going to be more of an interaction because there's more minds now involved, right, in the conversation. So again, there's ups and downs in both. I think I prefer talking to a group, in my opinion. Again, just for the reasons of that there's more to say, because there's more minds, there's more of a back and forth, you know, rather than just one person. Not that one person can give like a long conversation, right? I've had like an hour-long conversations with just one person multiple times, right? But it just you know, it just depends, I guess, on the person too. But I guess you're speaking to more people, you're a better chance to having a better conversation. Not only that, you're actually spreading that information to more people as well. So when you speak to multiple people opposed to just one, well, at least you're getting a message out to more people as well. So that's another upside to speaking to a group, you know. You're getting the message out to more people at once, you know. So yeah. I think I prefer a group, obviously, but speaking to one person one-on-one is actually pretty good too, you know. I guess if I had to pick, you know, prefer a group, but yeah, both good, really good at the end of the day. Ooh. No, yeah, and I do get more questions too, obviously, when there's more people. All right, I'm just gonna go 15 more minutes, and yeah, hopefully we could get one more, but if we don't, that's gonna be it. So we'll wait another 15 minutes. That'll be the 3-hour mark, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it after that. But yeah, we'll just wait another 15. Hopefully we could get one more. So Fraser, Kyle, hi William, I appreciate your measured approach. It seems to me that most in the field are full of rage. It's a real put off when the discussion is about physics. Your demos are great for sharing. Thanks. No, yeah, I appreciate the support, Kyle. Spidey Sense, do I have my demos on TikTok? No, I don't have a TikTok. So I mean, my content is free for anyone to share, to use however you want. Again, if you have a TikTok, you can, you know, edit my videos and share them as well, you know. So anyone is free to use my content, to use the demos. If you want to share them on Instagram, if you want to share them on TikTok, if you want to share them on a different YouTube channel, you know, Facebook even, right? Anyone is free to use any of my content for any reason, you know. So yeah, that's out there for anyone that wants to contribute, you know. If you think that is a viable way to go, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, obviously, is then yeah, please feel free to re-upload my videos, you know, on TikTok or Instagram, and yeah, hopefully we're able to reach more people, you know. Oh, let me just share this video real quick. I just thought it was funny. I saved it. I think it was a shorts. Let's see. It should be here. Okay, it's only a 1-minute video. I'll play it on my phone. I just thought it was really funny, and it just shows some honesty, at least from like the mainstream people that push like the mainstream narrative, right? So here, I'll play it right now. Give me 1 sec. So yeah, I just thought it was funny. Let me know if the audio is not good, but it should be okay, I think. All right, I'm going to play it.
So this is a very exciting day for me, because today we're going to start quantum mechanics, and that's all we'll do to the end of the term. Now, I got bad news and good news. The bad news is that it's a subject that's kind of hard to follow intuitively, and the good news is that nobody can follow it intuitively. Richard Feynman, one of the big figures in physics, used to say no one understands quantum mechanics. So in some sense the pressure is off for you guys, because I don't get it and you don't get it and Feynman doesn't get it. The point is, here's my goal. Right now, I am the only one who doesn't understand quantum mechanics. In about 7 days, all of you will be unable to understand quantum mechanics. Then you can go back and spread your ignorance everywhere else.
You guys want to give it a shot? Oh yeah, so that's it. My goal is, right now, I'm the only one that doesn't understand quantum mechanics. But in 7 days, all of you are not going to understand quantum mechanics. And then you can just go and spread your ignorance. Oh man, that was funny. I just had to share that. That was pretty funny. But at least he was honest, right? I'll give him that. At least he was honest. Imagine taking that class like where nobody understands. Why the fuck does that class even exist? You're gonna pay for this class so that you don't understand it at the end of it, and that's the goal. If that doesn't show that they're just trying to confuse people into fucking submission of their common sense, like, I don't know what is. I mean, come on. Come on. That was pretty funny, though. Oh, man. Pretty cool, I guess. Okay, I think I'm gonna get one more and that's it. Hello.
This is interesting.
Oh yeah, so 2 very easy questions to see if you trust your common sense. So here, we'll start with the first one. It's under here. Okay, perfect.
Is this a project that you have to do?
You could say it's like a social experiment in a way. So
Okay.
kind of a project, I guess. So yeah, so I have 3 box trucks here. And they're all completely sealed and they're all on a level surface. They all have an apple hanging from the string as well. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? Why would you say B?
At rest means stop.
Yes.
Are you... I'm trying not to overthink this, but like, if it's at rest, it means it's at a complete stop.
Yes.
It's not moving at all. It has to be B.
Yes, exactly. For that reason, exactly, because it's not moving. So which one's accelerating forward? Why do you say A?
When the truck moves forward, this goes backwards as like, it's like, I don't know how to say, I forgot like how to say it more scientifically, but like this one makes more sense since you tend to like lean a little bit backwards
Yeah.
and move forward.
Due to inertia, it's like when you accelerate in a car and you get pushed back in your seat, you know? So again, the whole truck is moving in this direction and the apple is kind of being left behind in a way. So yeah, you got it. That is the one accelerating forward. So number 2 question here. Pretty similar to the first one. The only difference is instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon inside. So same thing. Out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yes, for the exact same reason as the first, exactly. So which one is accelerating forward?
Still has to be A. Helium, same concept as the apple. It's too light. It can go forward like that.
Well, the reality is that it's actually C. And there's 2 reasons why it's C. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air, obviously, right? So the second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, in other words, all of the air that's inside of the box truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space. And then because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in that same direction. So the helium balloon will go forward in the direction of the force. So that's what we will call buoyancy, when something gets pushed by the medium that surrounds it. You know?
Yeah.
So this is a buoyant object, and I can demonstrate those physics here. So obviously this ball is floating inside of water. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the ball's gonna go?
This direction?
Yes.
Oh, now that you said C, it could go that way.
Yeah, it goes that way. It goes forward. It goes with the direction of the force. So that's what we'll call buoyancy again. It's a chain reaction of a force.
This is a more scientific, like, kind of thing.
It's pretty basic physics.
social-
Yeah. So here, I actually recreated this experiment too with a helium balloon inside of a cargo van. And I want to see if you can tell, based on these principles, what direction did I accelerate? So there was an apple hanging from a string and a helium balloon as well. So what direction would you say I accelerated? To the right or to the left?
Well, since the previous Apple experiment, it's accelerating forward.
Yeah, but not only that, the helium balloon also got pushed in the same direction as the force.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, buoyancy shows you the direction of the force every time.
Again, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so that's reality, that's physics. So here, let me ask you one last question. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth, because helium is buoyant, right? If I release it, what direction does it go?
If you're just staying still.
Yeah, if you just have a helium balloon here and you release it, let it go, what direction does the helium go?
Well, since it's filled with helium, it should go.
Yes, it
up.
goes up, exactly. Again, there's 2 reasons why it goes up. What do you think that is?
Scientifically, I wish I could explain it. I wish I had more terms, and I know it, but like, it just makes sense since time and time again throughout your whole life, you've seen a balloon filled with helium going up.
Yes, but there's a reason why it goes up. Obviously, it does go up. We cannot accept that as a fact, but there's 2 reasons why it goes up. The first reason is that helium is less dense than air, right? That's obvious. The second reason is we need a force. So there's a force pushing up the air, which is pushing up the helium. So the air is literally pushing up the helium because it's more dense. I mean, there's a force affecting the air. So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction because it was inside the truck, obviously. And then the air was able to push the helium in that same direction as the force because obviously there was a knock-on effect. It was a chain reaction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up the helium?
I forgot that helium is lighter than air. And like it kind of flows wherever.
Yeah, so the force is actually the Earth, the gravity, in other words. So,
Yeah.
so gravity, the pulling force of gravity is actually just a theory. I don't know if you knew, because the reality is the pushing force of gravity. That's the real force of the Earth. It's
So
a
you're
push, not a pull.
So you're saying that
That the ground is pushing up on you right now. It's not pulling you down. So that's what's happening.
oh, I was about to say, you're saying that if this goes backwards, this
Then-
also goes backwards.
Yes. So this one's accelerating in reverse, and this one's accelerating forward, based on the physics of how a buoyancy, acts. A buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction as the medium that surrounds it is moving. So when you accelerate, you're moving the medium in that direction, which pushes the helium in that direction as well. So the medium here on Earth is moving up, that's why helium moves up, because air is able to push it up because it's more dense. So the Earth is literally moving up through space right now and not pulling you down. And that motion of the Earth moving up is what gravity is. It's a push of the Earth, not a pull. So this is the real reason why I'm doing this. You believe the Earth is a ball, right? Like a sphere? You believe the Earth is a sphere? Or yeah, right? So do you understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? Because if you're standing here, up is this way for you, but if you're standing down here, up is this way. In every direction away from the center will be up on a ball, right? If we could prove physically that the Earth is literally moving up through space and that's what gives us buoyancy, right? How can the Earth move up in every direction away from the center if it was a ball?
I know that it has like multiple layers that the atmosphere like carries.
Sure.
And
There's like an ozone layer, then like an atmosphere under that.
I don't think that's really relevant.
No, it actually isn't. But the real reason is it wouldn't work. Because if the Earth was pushing up in every direction and it was a ball, it would have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction away from the center, which would mean the Earth would just be growing, it would just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that the force of the Earth is a push, then the whole globe Earth model falls apart. So the reality is the Earth is just a level extended plane and we're all standing on it, and up is the same for everyone because the Earth is moving up in one direction. So that's what's really happening. So the Earth is a level plane and it's just moving up in one direction, not a ball pushing up in every direction, because that just doesn't make any sense.
No.
So that's the number one proof to debunk the globe, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth and not a pull. So I don't know if you knew, gravity is actually just a theory. So Einstein's theory of gravity, of relativity, that's just an explanation that
I have done way less like science homework.
Right.
I just know that like there are basic physics that everyone has experienced and just understood.
Sure.
Just I think on the more like complex science, like where you actually have to do the work, you have to study, you have to do the research.
Sure.
Then it becomes like, a little misjumbled, but yeah,
Sure.
it still makes sense.
I guess before you go, if I could just ask you one question respectfully, why do you believe the Earth is a ball?
If I have to think why the Earth is a ball, we have to first think how the Earth is formed.
Well, geometrically, right? Because obviously we're standing on the Earth right now.
Yes.
So geometrically, why do you believe that the surface of the Earth curves, I guess, to form a sphere? I guess that would be a more direct question.
I think in my perspective, everything that has to do with the sphere is way infinite, because we know that a sphere has no sides,
Sure,
no
sure.
angles, all that stuff. So it infinitely like kind of roams around. Like there's no way that you can like pinpoint where's the sharpest angle,
Right.
or all that stuff. And because of that, it kind of just flows naturally, I would say. Like everything that almost every planet is round.
Okay.
We all know that. Everything that forms the Earth based with the atmosphere or the land or the sea or just gases
Sure.
makes the Earth round in the end.
Is that because you believe that gravity pulls everything to a center? And that's why everything forms a sphere? Is that why you think that? Or why do you think that? Why do you think everything forms a sphere in outer space? That's what you basically said, right? Why do you think that? Is it because you believe in gravity being a pulling force, or is there another reason? Because that's where the idea comes from, in my opinion. A lot of people think that the Earth was created because of a center point we call gravity, what started pulling matter together and it formed a sphere because everything comes to a center, right? But again, a pulling force of gravity is just a theory that's based on nothing. Physics actually shows it's the other way around, that the pulling force of gravity doesn't exist and it's actually a pushing force of the Earth. So again, they need this explanation of gravity to try to explain away how a globe Earth can exist. But if we're building everything off a false premise, which is the pulling force of gravity, then everything we build on that is going to be wrong. Because you're starting from a false premise, you know. Because again, the reality is the Earth is pushing up, not pulling you down. So the Earth is literally moving up through space, which wouldn't work from a globe. So this whole idea of gravity being a pulling force is a requirement in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, because that's how they explain how people stick to a ball and not fall. That's how they explain water sticking to a ball and, you know, be able to bend around it. That's how they explain how it was formed. That's how they explain airplanes flying level over a curve, because they say gravity pulls airplanes down to autocorrect for the curve. So gravity is just an explanation to try and explain the globe Earth. But the reality is physics shows that the globe Earth is impossible. So,
A globe Earth?
A globe Earth is impossible. Physically impossible. So again, because if the Earth was a globe, right, there should be curvature, right? Yeah. You know the radius of the Earth, they tell us?
Oh my god,
Pythagorean theorem. You know the Pythagorean theorem, huh?
A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
So using that simple formula, we can calculate how much curvature there should be. So what we do is we solve for x using this formula. When we solve for x, we just deduct the radius and we're left with the drop from the level. So based on the radius of the Earth, there should be 8 inches per mile squared of curvature. So that means in the first mile, there should be 8 inches of curve, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature based on the radius that they're telling us, right? So how do we measure for that curve, right, to see if it actually is there? It's a very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, we'll say 3 miles, and we build a level structure over the body of water, when the water is contained and at rest, the surface is always going to form an equal level surface, which is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water is not level, and it's actually curving 8 inches per mile squared, so 6 feet in 3 miles. So they're trying to make you believe that if you had a pool that was 3 miles across, that the surface of the pool is doing this. But that's physically impossible, because water, the physics of water, doesn't have the ability to form shapes on the surface. It always forms an equal surface, which is horizontal. So you've heard of the term sea level, right? Like sea level, right? Sea meaning the ocean and level meaning horizontal.
Yes.
So the oceans are horizontal, and that's what we call them sea level. So again, the oceans are not bending around a ball. That's a physical impossibility for water to maintain a shape on the surface or a curve. Because once water's contained and at rest, it's just level like this. You know, I have an image here to show that the surface of water is always a horizontal.
Yes.
Always, when contained. So the oceans are just like giant lakes that are just across the way. They're not bending around a ball. So that's what the oceans are. They're just giant lakes. In other words, yeah. So they're just giant craters and they're just filled with water.
It's just like, okay, man, this one does make a lot of sense with this one.
Yes.
But then at the same time, I think I'm looking at this like at more, what's it called again? A bird's eye view. Like if you're like, I guess flying so quickly, you can see like a little curve of water each time you like go further.
Sure, but that's the thing though. We're starting from a reference point, which will be the plumb line here, and we're building level relative to the plumb. So when we're going to build horizontal, they're telling us that the Earth is going to start deviating from the level. But that doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
Exactly. The Earth doesn't deviate from the level. It is level. It's just it just extends further out. It doesn't curve down to a ball. So again, this is the number 2 proof to debunk the globe Earth. It's the physics of water when contained and at rest. And the number 1 proof is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So that's the number 1 proof. And this is the number 2 proof. Let me ask you this. Do you think there's a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it is a ball, a spinning ball? Or are you open to that maybe we have been lied to?
I'm open to it.
Okay.
I'm always open to information. It's just what kind of information is given to me
Exactly.
and how overwhelmed I get in order for me
Sure.
to like not just accept the information, but just really just really process everything.
Yeah.
Because again, I did not do a lot of science. I
Right.
just know that certain things make sense despite the fact that I never done physics.
Right.
I don't really research gravity.
Right.
And like it makes sense in my own
Sure.
world. But
Okay.
if someone that has more scientific knowledge, this is common sense,
Yeah.
more scientific knowledge, give me this information, I can't help it but have to believe unless I am, skeptical.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So again, this is very simple in my opinion. Like by Pythagorean theorem, for example. So when you use this Pythagorean theorem, for example, to measure how much curve there should be in 1 mile, once you solve for x, for example, and deduct the radius, this is how you do it. You're left with 0.001137 in miles, but then you just convert that into feet, and you're left with 8 inches. You convert that into inches. So again, this formula doesn't lie. It's math based on what they're telling us the radius is, and that's what the radius of the Earth should be. And it's just not there. The
With
curve of the Earth.
With a circle, with a sphere, everything
Yes.
just seems so infinite. And
But yeah,
there's
but
not-
look at the curve, how it increases from the level, the further out you go out.
yeah.
That curve doesn't exist, especially over a body of water. Because land obviously can be uneven, land.
Yes.
So obviously you could probably have deviation in land. But when we're talking about water, the physics of water, the surface doesn't deviate unless it's like on a slope. That will be a river. That is what we will call a river. If water is on a slope and deviating, it flows, right? And that's what a river will be. When the water's contained in a container or like a crater, and the surface, it's not moving anymore or not flowing, the surface always forms a level surface. Which contradicts, this depiction of the Earth. So yeah.
I have it is a very odd social experiment, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit based on who has more scientific knowledge
Yes.
for you to like
Yes,
debate you
exactly,
on it, rather than
exactly.
someone that doesn't really have a lot of common knowledge on scientific gravitational force.
No, yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate the chat. Do you have any questions before you go? Okay, here's my channel. You can give it a look. And I go to other universities as well. I go to USC, UCLA, and I've gone to UCR. You could take that with you, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate the chat.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. You have a good one. All right. So, 2 very easy questions to see if you guys trust your common sense. So, 3 box trucks here, and they're all completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface. They all have an apple hanging from a string as well. The only difference between these box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? B? Okay, why do you guys say B? Okay, yeah, pretty simple, right? Which one? Yeah, which one's accelerating forward?
A.
Yes. Okay, why do you guys say A?
Because when you accelerate forward, there's a lot of drag, so the momentum should pull back on
Right.
it's attacking.
Well, there's no drag because the air outside is completely
I
sealed.
see, I see.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
due to inertia. So the apple is being left behind due to inertia, and the whole container is moving forward. So
That's true.
yeah, it's like why you get pushed in the back of your seat if you accelerate in a car.
Yeah.
Is you're being left behind and the car's pushing up against you. So yeah, due to inertia. But you guys got it. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple is a helium balloon inside the truck. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? Okay, yeah, for the exact same reason as the first. Which one's accelerating forward? A? Okay. This one's actually C. And there's 2 reasons why it's C. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air, obviously, right? The second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space.
Oh, so it
And
pushes.
then it pushes the helium because air is more dense than helium. But you require a force as well. You need the air to be moving in a particular direction to be able to push the helium.
But wouldn't the
That's why you need a force. So here's the thing. Here, I can demonstrate that here. This is a buoyant object inside of water, right?
Yeah.
If we apply a force in this direction, where do you think the ball is going to go?
Yeah, I would.
No, it's C. Remember, it's buoyant.
I know, yeah.
So it's gonna go in the same direction as the force. So it gets pushed forward. Yeah, because again, you require a force to push the water, and because water is more dense than this ball, it pushes it in that same direction. So that's what we would call buoyancy. You guys heard of buoyancy, right? So let me ask you this here. I actually did this experiment in a cargo van myself with the apple and a helium balloon. Based on the principles that we just learned, what direction would you say I accelerated here? To the right or to the left? Exactly. So you do trust your common sense, so that's good. All right, perfect. So if I had a helium balloon here on Earth, because helium is buoyant, right? If I release it, what direction does it go? It goes up, right? There's two reasons, again, why it goes up. Why do you think it goes up? That's the first reason, yes. What's the second reason? Why helium goes up?
Not because the air is like accelerating out of the balloon.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. It's the air that's more dense than helium, but you also require a force. So the force is yes, gravity. So here's the thing: gravity as a pulling force actually has never been physically proven. The fact is, gravity as a pushing force is what creates buoyancy. So the Earth is literally pushing up against you right now. It's not pulling you down. So that same pressure of the Earth moving up is what's creating the air pressure here on Earth, which is able to push the helium up, because everything right now is moving up through space. So that's the reality. That's why gravity as a pulling force is just a theory, because a downwards physical force has never been measured or detected. It's because it's the other way around. It's the Earth pushing up, not pulling you down.
Dude, that's like contrary to belief, because like in physics, like all they teach is
pulling. Yes, but they're just flipping the script. So here's the reality. This is the reason why I'm doing this.
That's why they use the XYZ thing.
So here's the thing. You guys all believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yeah.
So you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction. So every direction away from the center will be up on a ball, right?
Yeah.
If we could prove that the Earth is literally moving up through space, and buoyancy shows us that it's pushing up, not pulling us down, how can the Earth move up simultaneously in every direction if it was a ball? So how can the Earth move up if you're standing here, and how can, if somebody else is standing down here, how can it move up this way and this way at the same time?
Like in space?
In space, yes. How can the Earth move up through space if it was a ball?
If there wasn't the sun?
Well, the fact is, well, here's the thing. In order for the Earth to be able to move up, if it was a ball, it would have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction away from the center, which will mean the Earth would just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove it's the other way around and it's the Earth pushing up, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So this will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a pushing force of the Earth, not a pulling force, and buoyancy shows us that. So the Earth in reality is just a level plane, extended level plane, and it's pushing up in one direction. So the orientation here on Earth is not singular. I mean, it's not relative, it's singular. So everybody's up is the same. So your up right here is the same as somebody in Australia and somebody in China. Everybody is facing the same direction up, in other words, because we're all on the level. So the Earth is a level plane, pushing up. So that's the reality. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what's the number one proof that makes you believe the Earth is a ball? Like, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
History textbooks.
Okay, what you were told?
Yeah, I feel like pictures.
Pictures. Anything else besides pictures?
Just like that. Also, like all the other planets.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so the lights in the sky. Okay, so we'll start with pictures real quick, and I have a couple of images from the Earth here that
Just as a question, do you believe that the Earth is not a sphere?
It's not a sphere physically. I don't believe that it's not a sphere. I know it's not a sphere. You know, that's a huge difference. So here, I'll show you guys real quick. Right here. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. So here. So that's the Earth that they show us. This is official NASA images from 2002 and 2012. Not only does America look completely different, you know, they admit these are made in a computer. So these are all CGI. They're computer generated. So a genuine photograph of the Earth from outer space as a ball doesn't exist. So
What makes you say that?
they admit that. So it's not even up for debate. Yeah, they admit it. They're all composites. That's what they call them. And they call them images, not photographs. And it's because that way they don't get sued in court.
Yeah.
So they have to call them images because they're made in a computer. They're not photographs. So again, a real photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist. So not only that, these images defy physics. So if I showed you an image of me flying, would you believe I could fly? No, right? Because that defies physics.
Yeah.
What if I showed you a video of me walking on water?
I would say that's fake.
Yeah, obviously that defies physics too, right? So yeah, so these images defy physics as well. So what was the other thing you said? besides images?
History.
Yes.
What,
In science books, like history and stuff.
oh, history? What about history? How does history prove the globe, I guess?
Well, no, I'm just like, you asked me what makes you think that.
Just like throughout our life, we just like told.
So it's just what we've been told,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty honest. Again, I believed it just because I was told as well. But in reality, is, you know,
Well, I have a question for
Yes.
you. Like, what do you think made people start thinking that the Earth was a sphere?
oh, okay, so why people believe the Earth is sphere? I think it was pushed on us. Yeah. So obviously it's...
Like, do they see the moon? 'Cause it's
No. They're pushing a globe because they're trying to cripple our common sense. So if you accept the globe Earth, in other words, you are basically in a way kind of like mentally handicapped because you're having to throw away like a basic understanding in physics, for example, like buoyancy, in favor of an image that says that it's the other way around, that gravity is actually pulling down, that air is being pulled down, but in reality the air is being pushed up because we wouldn't have buoyancy. The helium balloon wouldn't rise if the air wasn't being pushed up. So it's all about crippling us mentally so that we're more easily controllable. And why, you know, they did it, I think it's for control at the end of the day. So that's why they started pushing this. It's not because they made a mistake or they you know, it's deliberate. It's a deliberate lie.
What's like the impact of like making people think
Yeah,
that the Earth is a
so
sphere?
they're disconnecting you from your true purpose about what the reality actually is and what it means to be human. So the nature of the Earth is we're being lied to about what it is. So they're trying to they want us to believe that the Big Bang created the whole universe and we evolved from monkeys, which evolved from fish, which evolved from bacteria. But all of that's just, it's all made up. It's a religion. I don't have any beliefs about creation, but I acknowledge that it was created somehow. So this reality didn't come from nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not agnostic because I accept that it has to be a creator. It has to be a God. It has to be.
So you believe in like some sort of like entity?
But I just don't buy into any religion though. But I acknowledge that there is a higher power.
Yeah.
I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, what's that?
Like there's
term
some sort of
called?
like...
Yeah, there is. It has to be 100%. I used to be atheist actually myself, but coming across this subject, automatically like, holy shit, this is an intelligently designed place we're in. This is more. I would say we're like ants inside of like a. You know how people farm
I mean,
ants?
like, I feel like when you really look at things, you're like, you know how everything's like so like detailed and so precise about everything. So
Dude, the immune system, you know how it works.
Like how everything just works.
Yes,
like,
everything.
What made you started questioning like whether or not?
Well, I was really, it's ironic because I was actually a huge fan of outer space and aliens and all that. So I was looking into a lot of alien videos back in 2016. And out of nowhere, I just got recommended Flat Earth versus Globe, right? Flat Earth versus Globe. And I dismissed it a few times, but then I finally clicked it just to get it out of the way, right? And they started presenting facts that I couldn't dismiss. So it just started diving into rabbit holes. But what happened is that later on, I realized that a lot of these flat earthers that put out videos in the beginning, they're actually controlled opposition. So have you guys heard of that term?
Like having people on the other side.
Yes. In order to control the opposition, you lead it yourself. So they put out these flat earth gurus, you know. So in my opinion, it was like a...
Anything about it.
Well, they do, but they're misrepresenting it. So they over 95% of flat earthers deny that the Earth is pushing up. So they claim the Earth is motionless. So they believe in a theory of like gravity.
just like it's totally like flat, like...
Yeah, they say it's flat, but it's not moving. So when you release an object into free fall, the object somehow gets pushed down by some magical force that has never been measured. And that's what the globe Earth pushes as well. So the flat Earth and the globe Earth are pushing the exact same thing. But the reality is it's the Earth pushing up. It's literally moving up through space. And that's what debunks the motionless flat Earth and the spinning globe. You know, that's the reality, you know. So real quick before you guys go, I was showing this as well. So do you guys know the radius of the Earth that they tell us? So the radius is 3,959 miles. That's the distance from the center to the outer circumference. So from here to here, right?
Yeah.
Based on the radius, we could get the circumference of the Earth, which is 24,901 miles, which is the distance around the Earth, right? So based on the distance, based on the size of the Earth, they're telling us there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile that curvature has to increase. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So how do we measure for that, right? There's an easy way to do it. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, the surface of water will always be level when contained at rest. So if we were to build a level structure above the water is going to be parallel to that, regardless of distance, because that's how water behaves. You know, and I can show that here. You know, water is always level on the surface. They're trying to tell us that every lake on Earth is bending 8 inches per mile squared, which will be 6 feet in 3 miles, and 66 feet in 10 miles. So imagine if you're standing at the end of a lake, and then 10 miles across, they want you to believe that the end of that lake, the surface, is 66 below your feet, which is a physical impossibility. You know, it's like if you had a pool that was 3 miles across, they want you to believe that the pool is doing this and not doing this. But the reality, the pool is always going to do this, regardless of how long you extend that pool. You know, the surface is always going to be level. You know, so again, this will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe Earth is the physics of water when contained and at rest show that there is no curvature of the Earth.
Well, can you really see curvature at only like 3 miles?
Well, you wouldn't be able to see 8 inches per in a mile, but you should be able to physically measure that dip. So the deviation from the starting point should increase 8 inches in the first mile, then 32 inches in the second mile, and then 6 feet in the third mile. According to the radius of the Earth. Yeah, that's their time. But the fact is, even if they said that, oh, it's because the Earth is much bigger than that, that's why there's not that much curve. The fact is, you could say the Earth is 1,000,000 miles in circumference. There still has to be curvature, but it's not there. So it doesn't matter what size of the Earth you're saying it's a sphere, it's just not there. Curvature is not there.
What I'm kind of like stuck on for this is like
yes.
How drastic in 1 mile they're saying an 8-inch.
Yeah, 8-inch drop in the first mile obviously will be there.
That's pretty drastic.
You think that's drastic? Well, the Earth is not that big. It's only 3,959 miles in radius, which is right under 25,000 miles circumference. That's not that big.
Yeah, but that's like 1%.
Right. But that's the thing. You don't even have to believe me. You could use this simple formula, and this is the formula here. You use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate for x, which will be the distance from here to here, right? Yeah. Once you solve for x, then you just deduct the radius from here to here, and you're left with the curve, which will be the distance from here to here, depending on how far you're measuring. So this is a very simple formula that could be used to double check those numbers that you say that are probably wrong, but they're actually correct. You could ask ChatGPT how much curvature there should be in 3 miles. It's gonna say 6 feet, you know. But the reality is that it's not. In reality, it's not there.
So do you think like sea levels are like a one
yes
thing?
So sea level,
so,
yes, exactly. So the oceans, we use the term sea level, right? Sea to refer to the ocean and level to refer horizontal. So sea level means horizontal oceans.
I think it's just across like an
yes. Some people think that, in my opinion, the Earth is a contained system. So the air here on Earth is being physically contained by some kind of barrier. So anything about outer space is just theory. Nobody's been outside of the Earth. So that's why everything they're showing us about outer space, like NASA.
So you don't think like the moon landing was real?
No. The moon is just a light. I don't even think it's like a physical object.
You actually think?
Yeah, it's like, do you think you could stand on a rainbow? Why not?
Because it's just light.
Exactly. The sun, the moon, the stars are just lights. Nobody knows what they actually are. You actually look. The stars actually look like rainbows. This is what they look like when you zoom into them. And I don't know if you knew, when you observe a rainbow from a different angle, it disappears, right? Because it's like an effect of light that's happening. Same thing with the stars. When you elevate at a certain height, they disappear as well.
Oh,
so it's an effect.
They're just like lights.
They're just like, yeah, they're just reflecting off of something else. I don't even know what they are, but they're part of the Earth system. They're reflecting off of the ceiling, maybe, I don't know, but they're not light years and light years and light years away. Like, you know, everything about outer space is made up. So the whole heliocentric model is made up. The fact is the Earth is geocentric. So everything revolves. All the lights are revolving around us, and we have these lights, in my opinion, so that we're able to see. Because the sun is part of the creation, so that we're able to see. Because if there was no sun, we'll be blind. You know, we wouldn't be able to see. So a lot of people ask, well, what about the sun? Or what about the moon? I would say, well, they're part of the creation. They're there to like help us see. The stars are there to help you see at night as well. The moon helps you see at night as well.
What do you think about the atmosphere?
The atmosphere, what about it?
Like, I just want to know your thoughts.
Well, it's being contained, in my opinion. So the atmosphere has pressure because it's being pushed. So that's why the push of the Earth up is what creates the air pressure here on Earth. And then that's why we have air pressure. And then you also require containment to have air pressure. So that's why I don't believe in outer space. Because physics shows me that in order to have air pressure, you require a physical containment. You know, otherwise the air would just disperse into the void, you know, and we won't have air pressure. But we do have air pressure. So, yeah, I mean, any questions about this subject before you guys go?
Just a question about you also.
Sure.
Did you, like, study all this on your own?
Oh, definitely.
Did you do any of this in college? Like, did you major in, like...
No, I didn't go to college. So I'm a physics enthusiast. So I did a lot of experiments myself. I have them on my channel as well.
Yeah.
A lot of experiments to debunk gravity. So I have a lot of those in my channel, which is the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth. Again, a pulling force of gravity doesn't exist. And again, I have a lot of demonstrations on my channel. You guys could check it out when you leave. And yeah, I had to explore and understand reality for myself. Because if you're telling me theories that contradict what I already know, then I know you're lying. Just like if I know that we can't fly, but if you tell me that you could fly and you show me videos that you could fly, then I'm not gonna believe you because I go with what physics shows me, and that's physically impossible. You know, and the globe Earth is physically impossible as well.
So,
You know?
also, you said it's a pushing force.
Yes, yes. That's the only forces that exist in nature. Actually, pulling forces don't exist. So there has to be a physical interaction from matter to another piece of matter to be able to make it move. So like an engine requires like the pistons to be able to connect it to the crankshaft, and then it's all motion that's pushing something else, that rotates the tires, which push off of the ground, which gives you motion. So all force here on Earth is a push. A pull doesn't exist. So to claim that this can move this object by pulling it without any physical interaction, that doesn't exist. In order for this to move this has to be moving to move that.
Also,
You know what I'm saying? Everything is push.
The simplest demonstration of gravity, like just by jumping.
Okay, so what happens is when you jump, because the Earth is constantly moving up, it just simply catches up to you again. So you can't escape the Earth because it's constantly pushing up.
With your like expanding theory, you think that?
Well, the Earth is not a ball, so it's not expanding. It's just moving up in one direction because it's level. If it was a globe, it would have to expand, which wouldn't work. It would just explode.
So you also like
So it's just
contradict you know how the planets revolve around the sun.
Well, again, the whole heliocentric model is just that. It's a model. It's not reality. The lights in the sky, again, nobody knows exactly what they are, but there's just like a rainbow. Like, there's just a visual effect that's happening that actually disappears when you elevate. Just like rainbows, they disappear when you get closer to them.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with the stars. The higher you elevate, the closer you get to them. Technically, you should be able to see them better, but they disappear. Yeah. So again, it's just they're not. The stars are not what we've been told. They're not planets. They're not suns. They're not. Nobody knows what they are. You know. So I would say they're closer to what a rainbow is. So whatever a rainbow is, which is a reflection of light and refraction, I think that's a more possible explanation, if anything.
So what do you think about like companies like NASA and SpaceX?
Oh yeah, they're just money grabs. They're like any other church that are just there to steal money from people, you know. So church, in my opinion, NASA is no different than any other church, just a religion.
So they just like make rockets, send them to space.
Yeah, they actually don't send them to space. If you take a look at a rocket when they shoot it up, it always makes a parabolic flight, and they say that they do that because they're going over the curve of the Earth. But what's happening is that there's a limit to how high we can fly. So it's about 25 miles, and the reason why is because in order to fly like a helicopter or an airplane, they have to push off of the air. So the air has to be at a certain density. So the higher you elevate, the less dense the air becomes, so the less you're able to push off of it. So you get to a point where you can't gain any more altitude anymore because the air is not dense enough. But they're claiming that they are going into a vacuum of space and all that.
I'm kind of
That's all
what
bullshit.
You're saying now. You're saying like with gravity, we're always going up.
Yes.
And we're being pushed.
Yes, we're being pushed up.
So they're like contradicting forces that
yes,
cancel out.
inertia. Inertia. So your body has inertia. The more mass you have, the more inertia you're going to have, the more resistance you're going to have. So your body wants to remain static. Because the Earth is moving up, that pushback of your inertia is what gives us our weight. So that's the opposite. It's inertia. That's why your body falls down, because it's being left behind. Just like with the apple experiment in the truck, the apple didn't swing to the back. It's the container that moved towards the apple. So if I release an apple here on Earth, it's not the apple that moved down towards the ground, it's the ground that moved up to the apple. So that same motion is what gives us buoyancy, because the air is being pushed up as well. So yeah, that's the number one proof that debunks the globe, and this is by far the biggest lie on Earth. It's the fact that objects don't accelerate down, and it's the Earth that comes up to meet it. That's the biggest lie on Earth, because even motionless flat earthers, which is the mainstream flat Earth, they all believe the Earth is motionless, and they also basically push that something is accelerating matter down in free fall, which obviously contradicts physics. Physics shows that the force is up, and buoyancy shows us that. That's the reality. So before you guys go, is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it is a ball?
Well, I mean, you've definitely kind of been wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
It's definitely always been like uncertainty over things, because I know before I knew that they admitted they do a lot of CGI work and everything to enhance things and everything.
Yes.
But I think everyone should have the possibility to be uncertain.
Have an open mind. Again, don't be so close, especially if you have nothing practical to back up why you believe it. In other words, because most people, believe it or not, even professors, because I've interviewed professors as well, nobody knows why they believe the Earth is a globe. Not even professors. So they're just teaching what they've been taught. And then whoever taught them are just teaching what they've been taught. So it's just a cycle that we need to break.
Well, you know, I've never questioned it because, like, it just kind of made sense how they, you know, it's explained.
Well, to be fair, I actually, when growing up, the bald earth didn't really make sense to me, but I just accepted it because that's what I was told, and I was a child, and I trusted authority, you know.
Yeah.
So I just dismissed it, you know, me questioning that.
Yeah.
But it never really made sense how the globe earth can just float in space, right? And, you know, there's no down. You know, it just, the whole thing didn't really make sense to me. I just kind of accepted it just to go along, to get along, you know, type of thing. Physics, on the other hand, can easily debunk the globe earth. Again, physics of water, and when it comes to buoyancy, what we require to have buoyancy, right? Which is a force and a density difference between two objects. You know, so yeah, that's the reality. What do you guys think? You know, you guys gonna look into this further, or?
I mean, I think it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Hypothetically, if I was, you know, correct, because I can convince you in 10 minutes, I know that. But hypothetically, if we were being lied to about the shape of the earth, could you think of a bigger lie than
Or
that?
like other things.
Anything else that's bigger than that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Would you agree that that's probably the biggest lie on earth, hypothetically, if I was correct?
Biggest lie.
On earth, that people believe the earth is a ball in outer space.
I guess it.
I mean, what could you think that could be a bigger lie than that? I mean, I couldn't think of anything, to be honest. But yeah, this is the #1 censored subject on earth, not only because it's the biggest lie on earth, but also because it's the easiest to prove. You know, unlike they try to lump this in with conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories like 9/11, for example, can never be proven because it was a historical event, and we can't go there to see exactly what happened. So now you can only come up with theories based on that. This is fact. This is physics. But they're trying to throw this in the same realm as conspiracy theories because they don't want people to look into this. They want people to believe that this is just theoretical, but it's actually physics. So that's another strategy that the mainstream uses to try and downgrade this information. He's just lumping it in with conspiracy theories, but it's not. It's a fact. You know. Yeah. So here's my channel. If you guys don't have any other questions, you can give it a look. You guys can take it. I have a few. Yeah. Here. And I go to USC. I go to UCLA. And UC Irvine as well. And I have conversations all the time with the students. You can check it out as well. So inside of the 6 top proofs that debunk the globe as well. So you guys can check it out. All right, man. You guys take care. All right.
So
yeah, do you have any questions before we go?
I didn't know much about it. So what are you like trying to like advocate for?
So the Earth is not a globe. I know that's what we've been told since we were born, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You know what buoyancy is, right?
Well, from what I understand, buoyancy is like, because like when you put a ball in water,
yes,
the reason I believe it floats is because it has air, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
there's another reason.
Air is thicker than water or something?
Yes.
So that's what makes it float.
There's another reason actually. So that's part of the reason,
yeah.
But there's another reason why that happens. So here, look. So you require a density difference. So this ball is less dense than the water.
Yeah.
But you also require a force. So depending on the direction of the force, that's the direction that the buoyant object is going to react. So if I apply a force in this direction, the buoyant object is pushed in that same direction as the force because it's less dense than the medium. So when I apply a force in this direction, it goes that way because again, the water is also being pushed through space. And because water is more dense than this, it's able to push it in that same direction as the force. So buoyancy always follows the direction of the force because the medium that surrounds it is also moving in that same direction to be able to push it. So when we release a helium balloon here on Earth, because helium is buoyant, the air is more dense than helium, so he's able to push it up. But the air also has to be moving up to be able to push up the helium. So you require a force to do that, and the force is a push of the Earth.
So are you saying that air is constantly moving upwards?
Yes, we're moving up with it too, because what's creating that upwards motion is the Earth itself. So the Earth moving up right now is what's pushing up the air, but it's also pushing us up. And that's why helium balloons go up, because the air is being pushed up as well. Because that's what buoyancy does. It follows the direction of the force. So obviously, if you believe the Earth is a ball, on a ball, up is relative. So if you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction. So if we could prove that the ground is moving up, obviously, and buoyancy shows us that, then the Earth moving up on a ball wouldn't work. Because how can it move up this way and this way and this way and this way at the same time in every direction?
Yeah.
It wouldn't. It would have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction at the same time.
Yeah.
Which means it would just explode, so it wouldn't work. So the globe Earth is actually just a level extended plane, and we're all standing on it, and it's just moving up in one direction. So again, orientation is singular on Earth, not relative. So up is singular, not relative, in other words. So again, so that's the number one proof that debunks the globe, is the fact that buoyancy shows that the force of the Earth is up. Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think Earth is flat or like?
Well, it's not flat because I'm gonna tell you the difference between flat and level. The Earth is level. So level is an orientation, which is horizontal, right? Which is perpendicular to the vertical. So in order to have something level, you require a vertical force. So the Earth is a level plane that's perpendicular to the vertical upwards push. Flat Earth, on the other hand, over 95% of flat earthers online claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the fact that the Earth is pushing up. So they're buying into an idea like gravity, that objects get pulled down by some kind of imaginary force that has never been measured or detected. Because buoyancy, if there was a force truly pushing the air down, then helium balloons will go down. Helium balloons will get stuck to the ground, but they don't. They go up. Because that shows the air is being pushed up as well.
So it's the same topic as the ball in the water, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's why a air ball or a ball will float in water, because it's being pushed up as well. Water is pushing up the ball because the water is also moving up through space. So the whole Earth system is moving up, and everything else within it is also moving up. And that's what we will call gravity. It's a push of the Earth, not a pull. So yeah, I mean, why do you believe the Earth is a ball, if I may ask, before you go?
Well, from like pictures I've seen.
Okay,
just
images.
General, because I've never been outside.
No,
really
nobody has, believe it or not. But they claim they have, but they haven't. You know,
then, if you say they claim they have, then how would you explain like them getting to the moon?
Oh, it's done in a movie set.
Movie set.
Movie set. Yes. So the moon landing in the 70s was done in a movie set, and then all the ISS footage that they show now is all done with blue screens and green screens and augmented reality. So they use augmented reality as well, green screens and blue screens. That's all it is. It's all a magic show, literally.
You can't prove it until you actually try something.
Well, not only that, again, the physics here on Earth contradicts what they're claiming. Really? You know, at the end of the day. So again, the physics of water too shows that the oceans are horizontal, not curving. Because if we actually went out to physically measure if there was curvature of water, for example, on the surface, it's not there. Yeah, so the proof is in there. You know, you could see. Yeah, exactly. So this is what they're telling us water's doing when contained, like a pool. Yeah. But in reality, this is what it is. It's just level, horizontal.
That's why when you go out to the sea, you just see.
Yes. Until you can't see anymore. It's because you reach the limit of perspective. Yeah. People think that's the curve of the Earth because we can't see further, but it's just we're not Superman. We can't see forever.
That's where when you see with binoculars, you can see even further.
Yes. So you get this, we get it. So yeah, things you can't see things forever because of perspective. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So now, appreciate the chat, man.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah, I'm William.
Nice
so my channel's on the front there, and you can check it out.
All right.
You know, when you have some free time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good one, you too. All right. Went way longer than expected. I'm glad I switched the battery because I would have missed that last conversation. But yeah, I think I'm done already. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh my God. Damn.